What are you here for?
Larry's lawyer, township trustees.
Whatever. You're fine. I don't know where I need. Yeah. Nowhere.
You want to dive back over here?
Well, squeeze.
There's one.
Larry said, "Come on, one of these seats here.
Did you get the email?
Let's set one of these seats here.
Yeah.
So you're not so far away."
Where do you want to go there, buddy? I was gonna hide in the corner.
You ought to be out here at the big table.
We may do like the town council does, and if somebody wants to speak, they can come here and sit down. I'd like to have this, anybody don't know me, I'm Larry Heckler. I'm a trustee. These are our board members, David Hafley, Tim Baker, and AJ Springer. And I'd like to have this be a very orderly meeting tonight. Everybody will get a chance to talk. Please don't talk over anybody. There's no need to, raise your voice or anything. It's going to be handled very orderly. And what we may have you do is come up here and address the board. There's appears to be most of the people here because of the fire agreement. So I think we'll go ahead and that's not the first thing on the agenda, but after we get done with the minutes, we'll go ahead and discuss the fire agreement. That sound good?
Now, there's several here for the cemetery, and that shouldn't take as long as what the fire agreement's gonna take.
Oh, that's fine if you want it. We can do that. Okay. Everybody had a chance to, I'll call the meeting to order. Has anybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yeah, a copy of them.
No.
I read them, but.
We're going with the revised minutes, right? Okay. Okay.
I think that's the only one page, there's 2 pages. Oh, okay.
That looks different from the.
Correct.
You got any say about the minutes or?
Well, yeah, I do. Says Larry has presented a new temporary agreement to fund the Ossian Volunteer Fire Department. There was nothing said about temporary. It was, you said an agreement to fund the fire department,
Okay.
wasn't temporary.
Well, it was supposed to be a preview, I guess, of what it, if you want temporary on it, Friday, it's not supposed to be a temporary, no.
No, it's
Well, no,
not
no,
temporary.
let me correct myself. It is a temporary for this year. Then next year, we're going to have another one.
What we discussed though was the fire agreement, and it was never brought up as temporary.
Okay, that's fine. It will be just agreement for this year, and it will not be in effect.
Well,
next year.
it'll be what we decide,
That's true.
you know?
It will not be
So-
what it is this year. This is just an agreement to get us by till next year.
And then below that, it says, AJ asked Tim Baker how long he has been on the board. Tim would not give a straight answer by saying too many years. Tim did say too many years, but Tim would not give a straight answer as an opinion.
How many years has Tim been on the board?
I don't know. That's why I said too many.
That's why it's in the blue for correction. That's why it's the correction I had right now.
I don't have any blue, but Tim would not give a straight answer is getting removed then.
Basically, that's what that second sentence says.
We just assumed that anybody that knows how many years they've been on the board would probably be you.
Well, I don't.
Okay.
I was caucused in, so I was in the middle of a term. I don't even know how many terms I've been on here, Larry. Too many, like I said. So you're removing, Tim would not give a straight answer then, correct?
Correct. So you're removing two then if it's in blue, that George Shelton.
Correct. That's what Tim made corrections, and that's what I put in there in blue. So what Tim wanted in there. So that kind of removes the other stuff.
Okay. And then Tim mentioned that someone at the state told him and David that the Jefferson Township couldn't just write a check to the town of Ossian. I didn't mention that. David had mentioned that.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it.
But, and I corrected him and I said, I was told when I was a Farm Bureau president not to get in a situation like that because all we would have is a receipt. We wouldn't have anything to bargain with if it come down to anything. And so that's not right because I didn't say that.
Okay. We can take that out.
Okay.
I'm still at a lot. Didn't George Hilton did say that you needed to do a fire agreement though, right?
Yeah,
You
I
said he
didn't
told you
ask to
that, right?
remove that.
George told me the fire agreement, we
Yeah,
could
that
not,
needs to stay in there, but Larry said George told him
Right.
that the fire agreement.
could not
was-
exist. We could not pay bills unless we had the fire agreement changed.
You could not pay Ossian a check.
We could
for-
only pay what the current fire agreement says. we could.
Right,
That's correct.
right.
And as we will find out later on, we cannot do that.
Okay.
Anything else?
At this point, Larry brought up a rough draft. Actually, it was a draft that you had the lawyer draw up with no
No,
input from the board.
I drew it up and I gave it to Tony to review and make changes. And then we gave it to the town's attorney to review it from the town standpoint. And then he made some changes. And then I had Tom Newenswander look at it from our insurance agent. And Tom said everything looked good on there.
But the board's never had any input on that.
You never gave me any. I sent it to you back in April.
I had a letter to the editor. Did you read that?
Oh, yeah, I read that.
That's my input. That pretty well details my
Well,
thought
if you had
process.
correct information in there, maybe I could agree with you, but that information was not correct.
What part of it wasn't
You'll
correct?
find out when we start talking about
Like I
it.
said, we're just going over the minutes. We're not discussing.
We gotta keep this moving.
Okay. Tim said he wouldn't reconsider writing the contract and no agreement was made. It would be retroactive to 2024. I said I may or may not consider it, but I wanted to look at the town's bills. That's what I said, to see if there is a way we can pay the $79,000.
Okay,
And there's a little more to that, but we'll get into that. But that's what I said. I said I may or may not agree to rewriting the contract, depending on what the bills look like.
Okay.
So that needs corrected.
Which one is that?
Where I, I laid down it, down where Larry made the motion to rewrite the contract.
I don't even have it in there where it talked about you would agree to it, may or may not agree to it. I didn't even put that in there, so that's not nothing in the minutes.
Well,
about that.
yeah, but
Do
it
you
read
want that-
like,
Do you want to add it in there for that to say that?
the only thing I want to put in there the way I said that I may or may not after I looked at the bills, because the way I read it, wherever it's at in there, was that I agreed to rewrite the contract.
All right. Anything else?
There was one on State Board of Accounts. You had in here. The State Board of Accounts, and it was actually a State Board of Accounts audit division rather than the State Board of Accounts.
When I see it in the blue, it says State Board of Accounts. Did you take that? On the back page there in blue, did you take that all
Where's it
out
at,
too?
Dave?
Yeah, your name's here, Tim.
So was it the State Board of Accounts that they're saying?
State Board of Accounts audit
Okay.
division.
Are you taking that out then? Mine's in blue, so,
He wants the audit division added in between
Yeah.
behind
but so
it.
you're leaving that in there. though,
Correct,
Because
yeah.
mine's in blue.
Correct.
As long as it's staying in there.
Okay, another thing, Dennis Ealing said, I am the one that told the town to send the township the bill for the hydrant rental. That was stated that night.
It's not in there, it needs to go in there.
Yeah, it's not in there anymore.
It's not in there.
This is the second sentence. This even talked about why the fire hydrant rental was chosen to be the item Jefferson Township paid for.
Yeah, but he actually said, I'm the one that told him to send the bill.
Yeah.
It doesn't
So
say
it's just-
I am the
That's just
one.
semantics at that point. It's basically, I try to keep this down. I could write 6 pages of stuff and listening for 4 hours, listen to all the audio recordings. So do you want me to
I
write,
listened
do you
to
want me
all
to,
of-
do you want me to start writing 6, 7 pages
No,
of stuff?
It's all right, but it has to be in there.
We're
It has to
asking
be-
you to
fine.
put that in.
Yeah,
We're asking you to
Okay.
put that in.
it was stated.
That was a
at the-
mutual agreement between Dennis and I. I was involved in that also.
But Dennis said he's the one that told him to
Somebody
send
had
it.
to say it. But Dennis and I talked
Dennis-
about it.
Well, but that wasn't discussed, that it was a mutual agreement that night. These minutes
As long
are.
as they
Tim, I
get in
think-
there,
I think
Tim,
you're
as long as they
Well,
get it in.
hey,
You're starting to get just a little too picky here.
well, there's another thing. Dennis said that he is sending the township Okay, Dennis said that he is sending the township their 60-day notice. He also said he isn't threatening the township, he is telling them. That was stated that night,
Yeah, that was.
and that needs to be in the minutes. No paper tonight, Larry?
Paper?
Paper lady?
No, she couldn't make it.
There's another one here somewhere. And it was more of a typo thing, a U instead of a. You should be changed to who.
Can we move on, Tim? I think AG will catch that when he looks at these better. Anything else on the minutes?
Go ahead, highlight. I guess not.
You did. You got it all in there.
I got it down.
Somebody make the motion to accept the minutes with the changes that have been made. Tim, you want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we accept the minute with the changes we discussed.
In a
I'll
second?
second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't get a copy of the minutes the last meeting too. I need a copy of the minutes from, at some point.
The April 10th minute?
Yeah. We
Oh, you mean-
we got out of there, yeah. The last meeting we had, I never got the minutes, a copy of the minutes. Here, can you sign it?
I didn't see a copy.
This is,
Oh, I thought
no,
he gave it to you.
That was the copy of.
That was a copy of AJ.
Okay.
is that the revised minutes that they're signing, AG?
Yes.
Here's the, is that what you wanted? That's the other minute.
That's last week's,
Yeah.
or last, excuse me.
Actually, Dennis said he said to send the hydrant bill, not that he chose to send the hydrant bill. He actually said, I'm the one that told him to send the hydrant bill.
Okay, we're clear now? Tony, did you want to speak for your group? Come up here if you would, please. Speak your name and why you're here.
My name is Tony Reppert, live 317 Young Street. In regards to the old Austin Cemetery back lot, that we've had in our
Tony
possession
Crowell.
for 85 years.
Tony Crowell, would you want to come up here too? Okay, okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I just like to purchase the property. And we needed to agree on the property line is the main thing I didn't know about. Last meeting, Tim, I believe, brought up that didn't know if they could sell it to me with a clear title and deed. And it was tabled. And after that, well, you said that they were gonna send me a new letter, give me until June 1st to have it cleaned off. If I wasn't gonna purchase it, but it's been a very, very wet season. I just finally mowed the whole thing last night with mud tracks all over it. I'm sure if you've probably been down there today and looked at it.
So
I know you and your brother was down there, I believe the 17th. And then sent me a text telling my brother Dave and I were at the cemetery today looking where you have a cable. There was one area where the cable was 15 foot north of the surveyor's fence post. If you're willing to set your boundaries 15 foot north of the row of surveyor's fence post, I'd be willing to open up negotiations with you again. You can leave your recyclables on the ground and I will plant a row of bushes to hide them. Why are we wanting to plant a row of bushes, for one thing, to hide them when it was hidden by a whole wood line that you cut down and tore my fence down?
Tony, we cut just a couple trees.
Larry, please don't sit here and lie to this whole board, this room. You cut probably over 150 to 200 trees out of that hillside.
That was brush.
No, it wasn't all brush. There were saplings. Yeah, there was some raspberry bushes and stuff and everything, but it was.
Well, that's beside the point, Tony. Are you willing to agree to what I said? I open up negotiations. Are you willing to agree to the new boundary that I put in there?
But first, I would like to know exactly what your whole purpose of wanting this hill for when it was given to me by past board members and we've had possession of it for 85 years.
Tony Crowell, can you address that?
Well, there's nothing on the record that says anything was given to us.
Right, that's correct.
The record shows the cemetery is owned by the township.
And I showed a deed at the Division 7 had 2.3 acres right there in Ripper's possession.
I haven't seen any.
I've not seen it.
Oh, I gave it to you way back here, way back. I gave it all the paperwork to you. You said ignore it and everything else. Beside the point. Can we meet in the middle somewhere between the cable and the fence post and just come up with a property line? Have the board members, you, me, meet there one day. We discuss it and just come up there. I'm willing to give you $8,000 if you give me from the top of the hill down.
It's not going to happen. I told you that before.
And it's more revenue for the town, Larry.
I wanted to the middle of the hill.
We had an agreement. I went from where they stopped the fence, where the town put the fence up for the cemetery. They stopped it at the west end, at the top of that hill. Because from the hill on down was the Ripper's possession. So I took the cable from that post right straight down to the post that you, Randy, and your brother and the surveyor agreed to.
Tony, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever actually read what the deed says for that property?
Just what I was presented.
Well, here's the deed. It says all that certain tract or parcel of land lying west of the cemetery in the town of Ossian, that's deeded in 2 tracts. They had an original tract, and this guy gave the cemetery a second tract that is west of the first tract.
He sold it for $80.
Okay. And being in lot number 7 in section 16, township 8, range 8, east, containing 1 acre, be the same more or less, which it said land is expressly conveyed for the purpose of an addition to the present cemetery forever and to be used for no other purpose whatsoever. That's what the actual deed says. So when this guy gave that ground, he had this recorded on this deed because he wanted to see it stay as a cemetery forever. Now, Tony says he's got an opinion here that that's a reverter clause, right?
Possibility of reverter is what the legal term is.
Okay, but basically, they can't give you a clear title to it. They can give you a warranty deed, it says, but no clear title.
So I've been lied to ever since
Well,
22.
so one, I have a problem selling it because it's recorded on a deed, and that's what the guy that gave it to the cemetery, sold it to the cemetery, whatever.
No.
That was his wishes because he recorded it on that deed.
Okay, so way back when the town abandoned the cemetery, does that clause still stay in effect, or?
The town
The town never owned that cemetery.
never owned it. The township has always owned it.
Well,
as
it
far
was
as I know.
abandoned by the town, and you even found that in the papers, or went back in the thing where it was abandoned by the town, and it was left to grow up, and for years and years, it grew up, and
I feel for you. I feel for you because you put a lot into this. Trying to purchase it, and you're wanting to purchase it, but I have a problem selling it with that recorded in that deed.
I'd be happy, Tim, if it was just left alone, like it has been for 85 years. I'm not building on it. It's a floodplain. They're not burying nobody on it. It's a floodplain.
But
And it's been taken care of, and the town trustees cannot show me that they've taken care of that for 85 years, where they paid any taxes or any lawn care for it for 85 years.
Assessment taxes on that. Have you ever paid any taxes on it?
No, because it was not ever in our ownership. It was in our possession for the upkeep, Larry.
are you guys willing to sell it?
Indiana code says you cannot sell a cemetery.
Correct. That's what my feeling
Okay.
is.
Why'd they sell the one out on Toxin Road then to the people?
No.
It's a cemetery out there that they sold to people.
On the Toxin Road 600,
I believe it is.
I live out that way. I'm a member. My plot is there. We have a association. We take care of it. We make donations. We trim down trees. We replant it. It's owned.
Was that ever owned by the township? No,
Not that I'm aware of.
no.
I don't know.
So it's private property, and it had been.
I do not know.
At one time, we
There's,
thought
there's like 4 acres in the
I know
back.
where that.
Yeah, and they're gonna be developing that, but it's privately owned, I believe.
Privately owned is different from government owned. That's
We could research that.
Right.
I'm glad to help with that. But Indiana code says you cannot sell a cemetery. I'm sorry.
Tony, you researched that. What, could we provide a clear title to that?
If you want to have the title search done and a title company do it, that's going to be up to the title company what they will insure or not insure. If the conveyance was made by the township, then I would not reference, it wouldn't be a warranty deed, it'd probably be a quitclaim deed in that sense. And if you want to talk about the possibility reverter, the possibility reverter doesn't mean it automatically goes back if it's not used for that. The right would be there for any of the heirs of whoever made the conveyance, if they wanted to step in and say, it's ours, we're moving back in because we want the property back because you're not using it for that purpose anymore. But they have to act on that. It doesn't automatically do anything. It's not a property right. The possibility reverter is not a property right. So it can't be conveyed or sold. That right can't be conveyed or sold.
So if we get with Wells County Land Title to see if possible clear title would be available, that would be our next move.
It depends on if you strike a deal or not, you know?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is the board has to agree.
Speak for the title company.
And that the thing is the board has to agree to anything before it could even be sold.
Right.
And if the board doesn't agree to it, it's automatically dead.
You
We've already.
Right, and that's what-
Tried to-
And that's what we discussed back in last
We're still
year.
discussing that.
Right.
Let me just clarify one thing with Tony. I think we could possibly move forward on this, but
I don't think, no,
You can't
look,
let-
Larry,
we
Larry,
won't
you
sell
can't,
it,
you
Larry.
can't, we're not moving
Not
forward
with
with it.
this
let me ask
language
this
in.
question to Tony first. Wouldn't you rather receive $8,000, $7,500 from that?
That's on you. We told you when you started that process.
From the get-go, we've made it mention that our opinion was not to sell the land, period. And that's back when I started in June, is our opinion was we don't need to sell the land. This is something you decided to do on your own without board approval, and you just started doing all this without approval. And it's something you've been passionate about and trying to sell this for some reason without a board approval. So
Our money is gonna go to waste. We need to get our property off and be done.
that's the way, and he's sorry to say it's the way
We
it has
can't
to
just
be.
leave it alone where we take care, I keep mowing and stuff.
You don't
Just so
have to mow.
What about? We tried.
Agreement that would allow Roberts
We
to take care of
We-
it.
we've talked
We've
about
been taking care of it for 85 years.
We tried and Larry
We can-
refused.
we could
And
do
there
the
was
lease.
never no issues about this for 85 years.
There's a dispute on the boundary line. Tony
There
wants to
wouldn't be
have,
no boundary line if we just leave it alone. I will stay at the bottom of the hill. And I told you, Larry, I'm not planning on doing nothing with the hill. You can leave your stuff there or the wildflowers, but where my fence line was, I was gonna mow from there on back. I have been, I still have been. Have I jumped up and mowed the hill or anything? Have I done anything to your hill? No, I haven't.
so you would accept the boundary lines where we've got the fence?
No, not really. You got the fence, the post in my field, Larry. Now come on.
Okay, guys,
Wouldn't this fall into in-kind services? You know, with the family mowing back there and never legally, everything legit. And you're kind enough that you want to do that, keep it clean, enjoy the area. That would be under in-kind services.
Well, our original proposal was Larry rent it to him for $1 and let him do whatever
Yeah.
he wants down there, as long as he's not up in the grade
Yeah.
section.
We never have been in the graveyard.
But I personally, I cannot sell it with this in there. This guy, when he sold it, gave it whatever, that was the intention when it says present cemetery forever and not to be used for no other purpose whatsoever. That's pretty strong language.
so Tony,
And so
can we come up with a lease agreement that he could continue using that land
Yeah.
for? Is it something we could come up with as a?
First of all, it's got to
So it
be,
can't be. So we can't even rental agreement or whatever use agreement.
or
Can we
will
do something
Larry
like that?
agree to it? Is Larry gonna agree to it?
yeah, but it does violate, like Tony said,
Right, we can't
violate
lease.
to be used for no other purpose
If you
whatsoever.
look at the spirit of that clause, and you look at the layout of the property, the hill obviously can't be used for a cemetery. The property down the floodplain can't be used for cemetery because it's in a floodplain. So,
And there's a sewer line, pipe from one corner all the way across diagonally in that.
As long as he takes care of it, as long as he agrees to mow it and make,
I mean, it's just less cost to the town. The trustees have to take care of it.
The problem Tony and I are having is agreeing to the south boundary line.
And see, that's where
It's
if we
the
just
north
We're not even
boundary
talking
line.
about the boundary line.
It's
It's
the
We don't have to talk about boundary
boundary
lines.
line.
I just told you, everybody in this room heard it, Larry, but you, I guess. I will stay from the bottom of the hill where you tore my fence out in the field.
I tore your fence off of my cemetery? Is that what
Oh,
you're saying?
my good, now it's your cemetery. It's not your cemetery, Larry.
Okay, if you can agree to the boundary being at the bottom of the hill,
Not with a post star at the bottom of the hill where you tore the fence down, the tree line, right where I've been mowing. We can all go out there and look at it right now, where I mowed at the bottom of the hill, where I mowed.
part of that
I always
fence,
have.
part of that barbed wire fence is still there. If you're
At the
willing,
very, very end, and that's where I mowed to.
right, so you're willing to say that that would be the boundary line?
Yeah, it's not a straight line, Larry. It angles like this. And
Okay,
You
I would like to go out there and meet
like I
you.
said,
But I
can we
want
all,
board members with-
board members, everybody to meet. I'm not meeting you one-on-one. I'm not talking to you one-on-one. That's why I didn't answer that, because you've lied to me for 2 years, Larry. I'm not gonna take it no more.
And I know you told me there was bald eagles out there.
Larry.
There is bald eagles
Guys,
out there,
guys,
Larry.
Hey guys, quiet, Larry. We're not so board. What's our?
What do you guys want to do?
So you're willing then to let him maintain it and we can.
We have to establish the bound. I've had it surveyed. I know where the
What do we
boundary
need to
is.
establish the boundary? He's gonna mow it. What
There
what
was
do you
never no
establish?
boundary
You need to go
line.
out there and take a look at it and I can explain it to you.
What do you wanna do?
Can we meet up there, gentlemen?
I have a problem selling it with that in there, but
But what is isn't it to mow it?
Yeah,
Maintain it?
I don't have any problem with him mowing it, maintaining it, but I have a problem selling it. So
Are we
from my
done with
standpoint,
selling it?
it's not
Are
for
you still- Are
sale.
we done with trying to sell it?
I don't need to sell it, no. But I want the boundary line to be established where it's been
There's no
surveyed.
boundary if he's just mowing it.
Yeah, if he's just mowing it, there's gonna be no
It's a
boundary.
little more
still got the
detailed
whole
than what
damn
you
thing.
said, David. You need to go out there and meet with us and I can explain it to you. Like you said, the boundary line does not run straight,
Larry, it wouldn't.
Then why are the posts in there straight?
because that's where the boundary line's at.
There's no boundary. just for-
Your boundary does not run straight,
I mean,
no.
it's-
Do we
The tree
want to do
line does
anything?
not run straight.
Larry, just stop talking. You're president there.
What was
Yeah,
the survey?
well, Tony, let me ask you this.
Last
I'm not
year,
comfortable selling it because this is
I
in the
understand that.
language. I want to respect that guy's rights.
Okay.
You know, that was his wishes. That's why he had it recorded on the deed. What do you want to do with the property? Do you want to mow it? What do you want to do?
I'll do exactly what I've been doing with it. Yes, I store a couple things on it. We do our reparation on it. We might plant a garden on it here and there, but I mow it and maintain it and take care of it. For my whole family has for 85 years. I would like to just remain and just leave it alone and keep it as it is.
Can we get something drawn up?
Is that something you could do, Tony?
Is
Is
that
draw
something
something
you
us
can
up
draw
for
up?
a user agreement?
Yeah, the
Take-
user agreement of
I'd
some sort.
like to rather call it maybe a maintenance agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Maintenance.
Because, you know, maintenance doesn't interfere with the intent.
That's true.
Okay. Yeah. And that's,
So we're not allowed to do anything else? Just mow it.
we'll we'll have Tony, so we're making the motion to have Tony come up with a maintenance agreement
Yeah.
and see where we go from there.
While
We can-
everybody's here, while Tony's here, Tony and Tony,
Yeah.
the Tony Show.
All right.
Okay. What do you want to see in the agreement? What
Yeah, what
do you want to be able to do with the property
Just
while
like I
we're
said.
all here talking?
Well, you wanna include what's coming up, so.
Well, I have a 4th of July party, and that's where we set our fireworks off, back here in the field, and everybody sits up by the house. I've always maintained it, we've always,
We clean the debris up, wherever it may go. This.
and it is gonna get more cleaned up than what it is, Larry. I mean, when she was an officer, she can state that I had vandalism back there by the kids.
Numerous times.
And, it wouldn't be, some stuff wouldn't be like it is right now if I didn't have vandalism, okay?
So are you willing to remove the recycling?
I'm not removing nothing, Larry. It's no, see, this is where,
This is a maintenance
if
agreement.
it's, hang on.
That's what
Area
we're getting-
planning is the only one is allowed to tell me what I have to clean up and not. The neighbor right behind it has got stuff piled in his field, same as I do, and hasn't mowed it one time yet this year.
But it's not stored on cemetery property.
All right, so Tony, I'm making the motion for you to come up with a maintenance agreement
Yeah.
to allow Tony to use it, maintain it, keep it clean.
And
Anything
remove the
else?
recyclables.
What
That's
about
part.
recreational items back there? They said they're having a 4th of July party. They
I
have,
have no problem with you having shooting fireworks off back there.
Right, as long as he keeps it clean. That's the part of the maintenance agreement is keeping it clean.
But the recyclables need to be removed if you're not going to own the property.
Is that, you guys agreeable to that part?
What's that?
The having him remove his wood and,
I've never seen it.
I don't,
That's why I like to have you guys just.
I don't know how much out in the open it is
Right.
for
It's
people in
very
the
visible
cemetery.
from the cemetery.
so, okay,
It's worse across the street from us.
so, do you guys need to go out and visit too before we,
Yeah.
Tony can come up with the agreement, we can go take a look at it, and then we can come back and finalize the agreement and come with
We need
something,
to all go
right?
meet out there.
That's fine, we can do that. Anybody want
Are
to?
you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll meet.
When's, good time for you?
We can.
We'll discuss that.
Yeah, discuss it at another, you can get with them and we can.
Tony, write your phone number down for me.
We need everybody to sign that sheet.
No, only people that are talking. All right, if somebody want to second that motion about the agreement and meeting out there?
Yeah, I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess I don't have your number either.
Can you,
What's that?
you want to look at some numbers?
All right, we're good here, Tony. We'll get a hold of you when we get something figured out, and we'll go from there, right?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
That's good. You can go ahead.
Okay, discuss the fire agreement as soon as Dennis gets back in here. Dennis,
We're up for you, Dennis.
Well, you just get them to agree this way.
But before you gotta talk about fire agreement?
yeah,
So before you do that, I wanna explain to the board. So Larry sent me a document that said, you know, that he had worked on it, and I assumed it was like the existing agreement that was maybe getting tweaked a little bit. And he just asked me to look at a couple of portions of it. I did not write that agreement. I did not review it from a substantive perspective. I don't think I offered any comments at all except for a couple of cleanup things. And that's all that I've had on it.
Okay.
And then Larry gave it to the town and the town sent it to Mike Hartberg to look at, and then it came back and it was almost exactly like it was sent, I think. So,
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, I didn't draft that agreement. I really haven't had any input on it at all.
Okay.
Much.
Okay. Thank you.
We were led to believe you did.
I looked at
That's
it,
the way.
but
Yeah.
that's about it.
Okay.
I just wanted it reviewed from a lawyer standpoint, and then the town wanted to have their lawyer review it also. Okay, have you all got I sent you the fire agreement.
Before we start on that new agreement, let's go back to the old one. Did you review the old one?
I only looked at the one that Larry sent me. I don't know if that was the old one or
That was the latest. Well, it
Signed
basically.
one or
No,
the
it
2016?
was not
The
the one I
last
sent.
one, the last one was signed was 2016, correct?
Both people signed. We signed one, but then the town never signed it.
You guys have not signed one since about,
2016.
the 2016 one.
town signed the last
Yeah.
one.
But then we signed one because we moved, it's in the minutes here.
Yeah, I'm sure we signed one back
Yeah,
when we made it.
I
We
had a
did
set
it
of minutes
at the
here that
meeting.
had it in. It's in the, what's this minutes here? 327. It says, discuss the fire agreement with Dennis Sealing, the firefighting liaison for the town of Ossian. Tim said that no changes need to be made and leave it in place for 2024. It will automatic renew if neither party gives a 60-day notice. David asked the town of Ossian to provide the board with a monthly fire run report. Dennis said the town would not provide the board with that report. David said, okay, I'll get the report myself. The trustee said he could have the request as part of the new 2024 fire agreement. David and Tim reaffirmed that they did not want the agreement changed except for paragraph D, remove ICE Rescue Truck 608 and add county-owned Rescue Truck 6. And that was the only agreement. Dennis was in that meeting.
That wasn't an agreement, we didn't sign it, and it was said, Mr. Hafley said that I didn't need to, I did say we weren't going to supply, and he said you don't need to because he'd get it himself. But ever since then, I've supplied you with the monthly runs.
Right. And I wasn't reading it for that, but we were both sitting at the table when we agreed that's the only part that needed changed
But then
on
you
that.
called me and wanted to change something, and we didn't want to change it.
No,
I don't remember
is
what
all
it
we,
was.
this is all we wanted to change, and Larry brought it typed up.
You wanted to change something else. You called me and asked me to change something else, and I talked to Ben, and then Ben wanted to change something else, and so we just forgot it because you wanted to make a change, he wanted to make a change. We might as well rewrote the whole thing. So we just let it go back to 2016. That's the only agreement that we have.
So have you ever looked at the 2016 agreement? Okay.
What does that have to do with the whole thing? Things have
it-
changed tremendously since that
Yeah,
2016 agreement.
it has, but in here, it has language on how to provide a notice if you want it changed. If you want this contract changed.
They notice, yeah.
No, it says serve, it's supposed to be any notices to be given here under shall be deemed sufficiently given when served personally on the trustee of the Jefferson Township or the president of the Ossian Town Board. So did you receive any notice personally that they wanted to, written notice that they wanted to change the agreement?
Doesn't it say, it doesn't say November, 60 days before?
Well, that's
December
up here.
31st.
That's in part one. This is the protocol for notice. There's a protocol for notice here.
Yes, it's if either party wants to not renew it, they need to give 60
That's in
days,
part one.
60 days notice.
That's part one up here.
But
Agreement
it's still
term.
going to be it'll still be a good contract until December 31st.
Right.
Even if you were given a 60-day
But
notice
here's
right now.
my question for the attorney. Since it has in here how this notice is supposed to be given, and we go ahead and discuss this agreement, and we break this contract, does that open us up for breaking other parts of the contract?
What do you mean by breaking the contract? I don't.
Because they haven't provided the proper notice that is in the contract.
For what year? I mean, because.
Well, they're wanting to change.
What month are we in?
Well, the contract automatically renews
So
itself.
wait, listen. So the reason we have to change the contract is because you're going to pay us $79,000. That was your agreement. There's no way we can get $79,000 if you don't pay.
I'm willing to talk about the contract once we get by this point and make sure that we don't break this contract that allows you to break other parts of this contract.
Tim,
That's,
two parties to a contract can agree to a amend the contract, revise it, terminate it, do anything they want, if they're the only parties to the contract. So if you both get together and say, we want to redo this or whatever, you can do it. Doesn't matter what the contract says, because you're the ones that made the contract, all right? Understand that? So to say that nobody gave notice, so we can't do anything, it doesn't matter if both parties come together and they agree to make a change.
Okay, as long as we agree to start changing this, and then they say, well,
Both sides have to
they
agree.
don't go back and say, okay, we broke this contract, so we can do anything we want
Well, you
now.
need to document the new agreement, okay? And once you document the new agreement,
Yeah,
the
but-
parties sign it, then nobody can go back and say you didn't do it right.
So if we start negotiating for a new contract and we don't get anything done, we haven't broke this because we didn't receive the proper notice.
Right, you can.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and you can start negotiations now for next year if you wanted to. That doesn't mean anything about this contract right here.
But if we both agree that we need a new contract because we can't live by the contract that's in place right now, we can agree to draw up a new contract.
Both parties can agree to revise the contract anytime, however they want, as long as they agree.
That's what we're asking right now, is to renegotiate a contract that lets us spend this $79,000 that you guys budgeted for the town. We cannot spend $79,000 right
I
now.
understand that, but I am not willing to do it the way this contract says.
That's one question. How would you like to have the town spend the $79,000? $79,000 that we budgeted, they cannot spend it underneath this old agreement. How can they spend that money?
I've got my ideas on what I want. I'm one of this one.
Let's hear them.
Okay, we pay $35,000 towards the firefighters, and we keep the same contract. We buy equipment, we buy turnout gear, we keep control of assets. Because if we start writing them a check like you want, we won't even be having this conversation. And the reason we won't, because if they want to charge us $150,000, they can charge us because we have nothing to bargain
That's
with.
not going to happen.
Oh yeah, it happened at Lancaster and it
The town of
happened
Austin
at
doesn't
Hague.
even have a contract with the fire department, and they've got along for years.
Even in the current budget, we pay $35,000 for the manpower. We're not buying $35,000 worth of equipment or $40,000. We're not buying any equipment this year. None.
You heard my proposal.
So the operating budget. The operating budget, let's say for next year, is $200,000. The town's position is we pay $100, you pay $100. You write us a check for $100, and we pay the bills. So
No, I'm not doing that.
Did you get the agreement?
Yeah, I got it. And I'm not doing that for the reason I just told you, Dennis.
And
Because
the town is not going to set and try to negotiate every year. You pay this, you pay this, you pay this. We're not going to do it. Go ahead.
Let me ask the question, Tim, because I'm just coming, this is my first meeting attending with you all. So you're saying if the agreement says the fire department's budget is, for example, $200,000, the township would be responsible for $100,000, the town of Austin would be responsible for the other $100,000. You're saying that you're afraid that the town would bill you for more than the $100,000?
no, that's not it.
Okay, I misunderstood. That's why I'm asking for clarification.
All we're asking for is receipts.
Our-
Show what we bought.
Our contract,
That's all.
this
we're asking.
contract reads, and you know, Josh said that I was disrespecting the firefighters. Our contract, it's not against the firefighters. Our contract said you supply the manpower. And that's what it said. And so you guys should have came to us before you removed our money for that hydrant rental and just started doing things.
My understanding is you all have paid for things in
And
the
you
past
agreed,
that
we
are not
come
in
to
this
agreement, did
contract
we not?
already.
That you
Did we not have-
that you would pay
that
us
we- that-
$79,000.
Yes, with
So tell me
receipts,
how
with
it was-
receipts, didn't we? We
No.
agreed that we would pay with receipts.
Yeah,
You
we
can
never,
listen to it, you never said with receipts, you said you pay us 79,000, and you said, but you wouldn't pay for manpower.
We agreed that it wasn't gonna be cutting you a check. We have to
Yeah,
have
and-
some
But
form
that's
of a
not what
receipt.
the town's position is anymore. The town's position is, you pay half
This
the
is our
budget.
position.
This is our position. We
This is our
have to
position.
have
Well, then-
receipts so we know what we
Then I'll
Talk about the
officially give
current
him the
agreement.
letter.
This is the
that
agreement
As
that's
of
in
December
place.
31st. we
So
don't
let's talk
have to pay.
into this current agreement. This is the agreement that's in place right now, is the 2016 agreement. We have already voted to refund the money for the hydrant
Okay.
bill.
He already got
Okay.
the check.
But my understanding is, with this agreement in place, that your board has already paid for things that are not in this agreement. So
Like what?
what is this any
like what did
different?
we pay for?
What,
The ESO.
We paid for that in the past.
But it's not
But
part of
it's
the
not in
agreement.
the part of the agreement. What else, Larry?
The other one was the Wells County Sheriff. We
Not
paid
part of
that-
the
We
agreement.
paid for that in the past.
Yes, you
Not
have, but
part
it's
of the
not in
agreement. So why, so you're saying you're going to pick and choose what you're going to pay, which would only equate up to 39,000
That-
when you've agreed to pay 79.
The two items he mentioned is the town has paid half and we've paid half.
yes,
That's
It's
what we
not
want.
in the
The town
agreement.
pays half, we pay
But
half
we're
on
not,
everything.
we're not gonna cut you a
You
check
see a
because
budget. You see the
here's,
budget. You know what the budget is. You
Yeah.
know what we're spending the bills on. I gave you a copy of everything we spent the money on this year. You asked for it, I give it to you. We're not gonna pick and choose. We're not gonna say you pay for this. We can't buy $79,000 worth of equipment.
and I just told you,
You-
we would give you 35, so that leaves us how much off of
We
79?
didn't, but we didn't spend that much on equipment. So what are you gonna do then?
We do, we gotta get our truck serviced, we gotta buy fuel for your truck and our truck.
Yeah.
We gotta buy insurance on our trucks,
It adds up to like what?
39,000 is what we spent last year. There's no way we can spend 40,000 more.
We
under this
spent
current-
39 and we, laid aside the balance of the money, which was from 45 to 39 and bought turnout gear after the first of the year.
Still spending.
And we have bought above our budget before. We bought air packs. We had to appropriate money.
And so
We had to appropriate money when we bought radios. We
So
bought
did
above
I.
our budget.
I mean, you bought 2 radios, we bought 4 radios. I mean, it's never 50-50.
Well, let me tell you.
Half the runs is in Jefferson Township, half the runs is in Austin. Why isn't it 50-50? And then in the newspaper article, you intentionally misrepresented it.
What do you mean?
You put you agreed to pay us $79,000, and then you put
No, I said we budgeted 79.
and then you put you had to pay $29,000 for the water hydrant. That should have been minus the 79. You added it.
No.
You intentionally misled everybody that read the paper.
No, I didn't.
Then why did you add them together?
I didn't add them together. I added the 54,000. I got the article right here, Dennis.
Yeah, it says 29 and 79
No.
and the 53.
No.
The correct numbers are here, Tim, from the meeting last night. Your numbers are bogus.
Well, whatever, Larry.
It
sounds
sounds like to me,
I got-
that the major difference in positions, and I really, other than what I just heard right here today, that's all I know, is that Tim representing, maybe not the board, doesn't want to fund a budget. He wants to receive invoices that he will reimburse instead of just randomly.
Yeah, that's true.
And
And that's how it's been for years and years.
Yeah.
But that's not how we want
I'm
to
not
do it
taking a
anymore.
position on one way or the other, I'm just saying this, I'm trying to observe and understand the difference in the positions here. And the fire department wants to adopt a budget.
Well, the
They
town of
want-
Austin.
And they want, town of Austin,
Right.
and they want a contribution towards that budget.
Yeah, if the operating budget is 200, we want 100 from that.
But, so, in my understanding, correct, is if you don't, Town of Ossian Fire Department doesn't use a full amount. Whatever's left over goes back to the township, correct?
It stays in the firefighting fund budget.
And then you would pay less.
Next year.
Right.
Just like.
So
this
basically
year.
like our budget right now, if we don't use it, it carries
Just
over.
like the.
Right there's the
I
order.
can't see it.
Send that down to him.
This one, that's not what was in the paper.
That's exactly what's in the paper. That's
No.
what I handed him to put in there.
Does anybody have a copy of the newspaper already?
I got it.
Let me, yeah, that one it had 29 plus the 79.
No, I didn't.
Well, this doesn't even fit. And then you have on here fire truck payments. That's not part of an operating budget, the fire truck payment.
It is.
We want part of the operating budget.
Well, you're
And
using
if
that.
you're gonna
fire truck.
add, if you're gonna add that, then we can add the Cume fund and the TIF fund. Or lit fund. It's still taxpayer money, we're still spending.
What the lit money you guys get, we don't get that. What we get some, but we don't get near what you get. But yours is earmarked for public safety, and you spend 50,000 on the fire department and 70,000 on the police department. I looked it up.
It depends, every year's different, but it's not like that.
It's not that.
The lit, like in 2020, they only got 25,000 in the fire department. We could split it up any way we want. In 24, they got 25,000 for lit.
Well, I'll come up with it here eventually.
It doesn't really
It
matter.
never really
I mean,
matters.
you got two different positions of philosophy on how you're approaching it.
Well.
If you can't come to terms with that, then
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's.
I don't wanna be here all night.
No, I don't either.
Well,
Yeah, that's the letter.
Okay, this is the town's position. I've got a letter here that if the board will not agree to the terms in the agreement that they have proposed, I'll read you the letter here. As we have discussed since this comes from, signed by Josh Barkley. As we have discussed since the 2020 firefighting agreement is the agreement that is still in effect, and it's still in effect until the end of this year, between Austin and Jefferson Township. This letter is formal notice that Austin is terminating the existing firefighting agreement between Austin and Jefferson Township effective December 31st, 2024. In an effort to move the firefighting relationship between Austin and Jefferson Township forward in a more equitable manner, one that recognizes that each entity should be providing half of the firefighting expenses, I am enclosing a proposed agreement between Austin and Jefferson Township to be effective beginning, and this should say January of.
No, that.
No, it's January 1st.
Okay, January 1st, 2025.
2025.
Yes.
We will have to have another agreement in January 2025, but right now, we're trying to come up with an agreement in 2024 to be able to use the 79,000.
I just told you how.
What this is telling me is that as of December 31st, you're not going to, Jefferson Township, outside of incorporated Austin, will not have firefighting.
Well, somewhere here in
Provided.
these minutes that we discussed the last time was we were supposed to get together, the boards were supposed to get together and discuss this. Did the board, did you ask the board to meet with this board?
Dennis, what did the board?
Did
say?
you ask
Board
the
said no.
town of Austin board
The
to
board-
meet with us,
Board
with
said
this
that the
board?
town,
They did. He did, and they said no.
They refused to meet with us.
Because they,
on
they
that.
say this is good enough right here. So this agreement, they say this agreement is what they want to move forward with. And that's, I don't have any issue with that agreement. I would make the motion that we approve the agreement that the town of Ossian approved.
The reason why we have to have receipts is for this purpose. If we should decide to ever split up, what belongs to us comes with us. What belongs to them goes with them.
we're not buying any new equipment.
It doesn't matter if we're not, if it's,
You want to buy the tires back if we
no,
put new tires on the truck or
no,
what?
that's not what I'm saying. But if we give them a sum of money without any receipts, then we
So what?
Here's the problem.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. what good is equipment without people? If we separate from the town of Ossian, are you guys going to start a fire department by yourselves and
We have a
recruit
plan.
people?
I'll just say we have a plan.
So you have, right.
I'm not telling you my plan.
What,
It doesn't-
you need to tell us the plan. What is your plan? I need to know. I need to know this plan. I'm a board member, Tim.
Yeah.
I need to know this plan because if I don't know this plan,
We'll wait till we get closer to the end and then you'll get the plan.
Do you have any idea how much their insurance rates will go up?
Yeah.
he don't care.
They could go
Tell me that, Tim.
quadruple.
How much, my taxes have already gone up multiple times, every year. Have you guys even heard of Allen County's situation?
Oh, yeah. I got ground in Allen County.
And what's your thoughts on that? Volunteers are dying. There is none. It has gone down so quick across the United States.
You know,
No, you don't know. You do not know.
This situation makes it worse.
Mhm.
No one is
If-
gonna volunteer to help out with this fire department, knowing that these kind of battles are taking place.
Exactly.
And it's happened. It happened with the radios.
And the
No,
town
if-
picked up the
if we
tab on
can't
the
get
radio.
along-
well,
If we
now
can't
just,
get along, what's gonna happen is this is gonna be a district.
Yep.
And your tax rate is gonna go from $70 per 100,000 to $280 per 100,000.
And no coverage.
4 times as much.
Oh, they'll get
So,
covered.
so we need to get along.
Hey,
well.
And I asked you that before we even
And-
started.
and
We are
I-
not going to give you a receipt and a bill anymore. I mean, that's so out of date. We're probably the only place that does that in the whole state of Indiana. We have an operating budget. The operating budget doesn't have equipment in it. If we buy a fire truck, it's yours. That's nothing to do with the operating budget.
So if I sell my equipment, you don't have a problem with that?
One, we wouldn't be able to go out and.
Yeah,
On a
right,
fire
you're
for you.
using it. You're using it. You get use out of it.
Ben, it's
Hey, you
We
don't
use
get
it,
use out of
we
that
get,
equipment
we use
that
it
the town
for
owns?
the township. We don't use it for the town of Ossian, we use it for the township. We don't need your trucks in the town of Ossian.
I know, you've told us that several times.
I know. So
So,
I don't know why it's so hard that you can't pay half a budget. You see the budget beforehand, you know what you're paying for. Ben is probably the most penny pincher budget we have. He doesn't waste any money whatsoever. And if they do need it, they use Lyft. If they do need it, they use the pancake breakfast money. They don't ask us. Very seldom. Radios one time and something else.
you made your proposal and we made you a counter proposal and you turned it down.
Right.
That's where we're at. So-
Okay, and I give him the letter, so.
Okay,
So as of December 31st,
okay.
I just say you two are just putting the township in really bad
and then
place.
in 60 days, we'll give you our proposal for 2025, and it'll say the same thing, that it'd be 50/50.
who's
So,
paying for the part-timer?
Town of Ossian's right now.
But see,
Yes, no, listen, where is that part-timer responding, Tim? Where is that part-timer responding that the town of Ossian is paying for? You know where? In the township, not just the town of Ossian, in the township. You know what, to me, that's one plus.
well,
You
it
get me
takes,
3 other guys, that's a better plus every day.
and it takes,
You get me a 24/7 staff.
it takes twice as many firefighters
Now-
for a fire.
I just offered him $35,000 to pay for them part-time guys and he turned it down. He didn't want it.
Well, let's.
He said he's not doing that.
The agreement's right here. They'll pay for that 35.
Yeah.
They'll pay for equipment.
99,000 will pay for
But
it.
see, if we
You
stick
don't
with
get a
that
receipt for
agreement,
that.
we will end up like Harrison and Lancaster because Harrison had equipment running around when I was a kid.
That
It
was
was-
when you was a kid. This is.
It's totally
This is
different.
2024, Tim.
If they come in with a district or a territory, it's their equipment. It's not your equipment. It's
You're
not
gonna
the
be
town of
out.
Ossian.
You're gonna
It's
be
the
out.
taxpayers of Wells County. You're not gonna keep it
We
anyway.
retain our equipment. I.
No, you don't, Dick.
Yes, we
Yeah, you
do.
don't.
No, you don't.
Yes, we do.
We'll keep the
We
equipment,
retain
but
our equipment.
we'll
You
get us
retain the
equipment.
You're not gonna use it.
You just gotta sell it, right? That's all we could do. Nobody's gonna use it. We just have to sell it. That's the same thing if we don't have Ossian. What are you gonna do? Sell our equipment and hire somebody else to come and do it? Somebody else is gonna come in and charge us way more than what Ossian is agreeing to. You know, this is the best bet for us.
Monroe's an option. How long would it take Monroe Fire Department?
Or
to get to
Preble,
your house?
I don't know where you heard that.
Oh, I've heard it. Believe it.
I mean, what are you
I also
talking, a
heard
half
about-
hour?
I also heard about Preble.
Yeah. Hey, I have friends at Monroeville. You know what their fire department is? Southwest.
And that's who I work for.
28
I'm going to tell you
minutes
right now, that's who I
in a
work for.
car to get to their house on fire. Now, what happens if your combine catches on fire, or your house,
Tim
or your
will,
tractors?
Tim will
or
take
your
care of
fuel
it with his
tank.
fire truck.
Who are you gonna call? I'm not coming with a bucket to try to put out a combine fire. Now, we need these men to help us. And
No,
we
your
don't
insurance
want
is
to
gonna go
let
up.
our equipment just go to the district and,
Just look
we've got
what
to
happened to Uniondale. Their insurance went up. It's just not taxes. Your insurance is gonna go up, and the insurance is gonna be way more than the
I
taxes.
made a counter proposal. They don't, they're telling us it's our way or the highway.
Which is fine. It's what it needs to
We're two
be.
people.
It should be
We're
that.
not a quorum. We can't agree to anything with only two people here, Tim.
Well,
This is what we propose. We either need a yes or a no from you. If you would kindly make a motion for a vote, and then once you vote, if you vote yes, then great, we move forward with the new agreement. If you vote no, then we have our plan prepared as well.
I make a motion that we propose to pay them $35,000 towards the labor, and we keep on providing equipment for the balance of our budget, the way that the agreement's read. The old guys ahead of us set it up this way for the time that this happened, right now. That's why they had it set up this way.
The old guys set it up in 2016. You've
No,
even
it was
already
before
agreed.
that. It was like,
You've already
even if it's
agreed
3
that
years
this
ago.
is outdated and needs changed.
and
You
we-
have already stated that.
You know, in 2008, 2010 had the exact same problem. And nothing has changed in 2010.
2010, you guys paid $35,000.
And now you pay 40.
you
In
know,
2000, in 13 years, you've raised $5,000 towards the fire department.
oh,
You went up
Good.
$5,000 in 13 years.
that's terrible.
You pay half the budget or we're done.
you know how much
And
money, you know how much money we could collect for fire protection? $15,000. Because they had a max budget levy. That's all we'd collect. So we were scraping up pieces of money from our lit, from here, from there, and we got it up to 45,000. Now, we did raise it
79.
to 79
Except
because
you
we
can't
went,
pay 79 under this current agreement.
Right.
You can't pay 79 under the current agreement.
and that's why I offered to pay you 35 labor and then the balance the way we've
We're
been
not going to
paying.
do that
Tell me
anymore.
how to
It's
say
an
Well,
accounting, it's an accounting nightmare.
We've done
It's-
it. We've done it for years.
But
It
we're
doesn't
not-
matter.
No,
It's-
but we're
it's
not
not-
gonna-
The reason.
Is
We're
your
not going to
equipment-
do it that way.
Do you operate your farm the way you operate your farm this year, the way you did back in 1995? Do you still operate your farm that way? Or has your farm, how you operate your farm, has that changed
I
since
don't
then?
operate.
Your kids do, right?
Right.
So are they
So however
operating?
they want to operate.
Are they operating the same way you did?
No, they've changed with technology.
So why can't this change with the change of times?
Because we will end up with nothing but a pile of receipts. Our equipment will be wore out. It'll be gone. They'll trade it off.
We still own the,
So
we
basically,
still own the
all
fire
you're
truck.
You
concerned
still
about
own
is
it.
what you're gonna have
We
when
still
you
have
guys
fire
decide
trucks.
to split from the town of Ossian. That's your concern.
No,
That's what I keep hearing. What are we gonna have to walk away with?
We
No.
have a responsibility to the taxpayers out here. of
And your
showing how-
taxpayers are
And you
sitting
and
here.
you guys are
of
not.
showing us
You
how-
know,
showing
every
how we're spending.
taxpayer does not agree one way or the other though, because I'm in agreement more with Tim on this than with you, sir. I think that the negotiations are going this way because both sides have assets to argue over. And that is what I want to see.
There has to be
I
a
don't want you
negotiation
guys
here.
to say, you're gonna pay this amount, and they say, okay, we're gonna pay it, or we lose fire protection.
And that's all we
And
have.
in my
that's all
opinion,
we
you are
have.
not negotiating on behalf of the
We
taxpayers.
have tried,
in
we
this township.
offered to meet with
You
the
are
board
rolling
and talk
over
about
and just
this.
saying,
Nobody
give them
came
what they
to us.
want because they want it.
Who came to us and
Your
told us
job
they
is
couldn't
to
spend this
negotiate
money?
on all of
Who
our
came to this
behalf.
board and told us we couldn't spend this money? Who came to the board, AJ, and told us they had an issue with spending this money? Will you tell me? Who came to this board and said they have an issue? No, they spent the money and then they came to the board and said, you guys need to change it.
That money is.
To make it through what they did. They had a chance. I've offered to meet with the board, discuss this all over, and come up with a solution. They refused to meet with us. Did you not say they refused to meet with
Because
us?
since 2010, it's been the same thing. Every year, it's the same thing. We'll pay for this, we'll pay for this, we won't pay for that, we won't pay for this. We're not doing it anymore. If operating budget's 200, you pay 100, we pay 100.
I think too.
Equipment has nothing to do with it. We're not buying a fire truck. You still own your fire trucks.
What would your operating budget be without, if you get rid of Jefferson Township? Would it still be 200,000 or whatever number?
Well, we wouldn't need as many volunteer firemen.
I mean, would
But
it
has
cut
that
it in
been
half?
considered?
We don't need their trucks. We don't have the
You guys are
maintenance on
acting
their
as
trucks.
if you have nothing to lose by losing us.
We have nothing to lose.
They don't.
Nothing but a burden to you.
No.
No,
We
it's
want
not.
to service you.
No,
But
I'm
we
just
want
asking,
paid
is
for
that the
it.
case?
We are not paying 70% of the budget anymore.
I'm not against you, Dennis. I see parts of both sides here. I like the concept of assets, but I'm asking you,
What
because you have made
assets
the last
are
two
in an
meetings.
operating budget? There is no assets in an
But if
operating
they don't
budget.
get receipts, I understand what they're saying about wanting receipts.
They can
because
see
have
all the
something to
receipts.
show.
Everything that we spent, I gave them receipts for everything we
Okay,
spent this year.
either way,
And I'll do it.
I'm not against you. I'm asking, you have spent the last two meetings telling us that we do not matter to the city of Austin. You
No,
would be better
I
off
never
without
said
us.
that.
Yes, you did.
have.
Yes, you did.
But
So
if we don't
if
get
we
paid,
left-
if we don't get paid, we're not going to service you.
Okay, I understand that. You are telling us what we stand to lose by getting away from you. What do you guys stand to lose? Are we only a burden, or do
No.
you rely on us for something? I'm asking. Because no, you have not said the words, but you have insinuated that the township is nothing but a taker in this situation.
It has been.
The town has paid a lot more of a lot of things compared to the township. A lot.
Which I
The
understand.
town
That's
has
not my
covered
question.
more
I understand the
than the
numbers.
township.
I don't understand. I never said you was a burden, ever.
I'm not giving you a direct quote. I'm saying you have insinuated that we
If
are
I
a burden.
insinuated, I didn't mean to insinuate. I was on the volunteer fire department.
I'm not against the fire.
I would go out there
Don't
and fight
misconstrue
fire
this
all the time.
as me
I'm
being
not.
anti-fire,
No, I'm
because
not.
that is not the case.
I just want,
I'm
we just
simply
want our
asking.
fair, we just want to be 50-50.
Which I understand.
They get receipts, they wanted the receipts for everything we spent this year, I gave them all the receipts. If everything we spend, I'll give them receipts, they'll see everything that we spend the money on. They can look at the budget before the year starts and know what we're gonna spend the money on. You can't spend more than the budget. If the budget says you spend this, that's it, we can't go over it. If we buy a piece of equipment with the budget, then we'll say they own it, I don't care.
No.
But we're not gonna break it down. You cannot believe the nightmare. Larry brings us the bill, we gotta pay, I mean, it's just, we're the only place that operates like that. If the budget's 100,000, they pay 50, we pay 50, like next year.
Stephanie, you've been
The
trying to
budget
say
will
something
probably,
for a while. What?
the budget will probably be $200,000 next year, but we didn't know that they only agreed to pay us $45,000 until September.
I
And they
understand
said
that.
they would pay us 79.
I
So
understand.
the budget next year, will be $34,000 less, because we over budgeted, because we didn't know we was gonna get it.
I understand.
But you can't
Stephanie, you were trying to
overspend.
say something. What were you trying to say? You keep getting cut off, I'm
So-
sorry.
I think the reason why
They do.
the town of Ossian has made this new proposal for a new agreement is because, can you please not talk while other people are talking? Or do you not want to have this conversation? I mean,
I was asking, yes, go ahead.
Okay.
the reason why this has been brought up is because, yes, a bill was sent to the township for hydrant use. I understand the township does not use hydrants. So the reason why that money has been refunded, the reason why this is now an issue is because the way the current agreement is written is it will only allow for 39,000, and I may have some 49,000 of the $79,000 to be used towards the fire department's current operating budget. I understand that after last year you had $40,000 left over, you used that to purchase turnout gear. That doesn't cover the current operating costs for 2024. That purchases things for 2025. The town does not view the township as a burden at all. The fire department, a large number of our volunteers live in the township, so they want to continue that service. I think the reason why we are asking for it to be 50-50, for a check to be cut to the town and the town pay the bills, is because of the purpose of these two boards have constantly butted heads. And it goes back to the radios. We are going to run into that issue, I think, with every single purchase. My opinion is if we have the money in the budget to purchase radios, I leave it in the hands of the fire department. If they want Kenwood, great. If they want Motorola, great. If it's within their budget, it's within their budget. When the radios were being purchased, the township refused to pay for Motorola radios, which is what the fire department was requesting. So the town picked up the difference to provide the best equipment that we could to service not only the township, but the town as well. And I think if we get down to this nitty gritty of all these receipts, we're going to run into that all the time. And yes, what I keep hearing is it's about the assets, because what happens if it all falls apart? What do we walk away with? That is ridiculous. What you need to be concerned with is what is best for the members of the township.
The entire township.
The entire
You guys
township.
seem to represent Jefferson Township outside of Ossian, but they represent Ossian and Jefferson Township.
Yes.
And you guys seem to lose that.
Well,
Ossian is in Jefferson Township, correct? Yes or no, Tim?
I pay township taxes.
Is Ossian in the township of Jefferson? Yes or no? It's a simple
If
answer.
you can't figure that out, I can't help you.
Well, I want you to say it, Tim. I want you to say yes or no. Is it Ossian in the township of Jefferson?
As far as I know, but maybe you've got a different idea.
It is. It's a simple yes.
But Larry, you're supposed to be representing both of us, and for you to go to the town board meeting before any of this was brought up and tell them, I'm going to get you $39,000 by June, and I'm going to get you 39, and it was totally against our contract. You never ran it by us. You aren't representing the township people well when you do
I
that.
am doing what's best for both of us. Yes. And that 39,500 split 2 times during the year is, from an accounting standpoint, is the best way to handle it.
It might be accounting, but when we came to this table, we have some assets. We have something to bargain with. We offered them a plan. We offered to pay them $35,000 towards labor, or I did. These two maybe have a different idea. We'd have to vote on it as a
Originally, you
board.
said you weren't going to pay labor.
Right.
That's what's been in the past. You guys
Because that was the way the contract was, and you needed to come and change the contract,
That's what
and
we're
then
trying
you
to do.
could pay the labor.
That's what we
What
tried
we're
to
trying
do
to
in
do.
September, and you wouldn't do it.
So I'm making the
You said you
motion,
wouldn't
we
pay.
agree to the firefighter agreement that Ossian put forward.
No, I'm not going to.
No, I'm not getting rid of that equipment will all be gone.
Just
As
know
they
this.
as they get
No
new-
other fire,
So how
no
will that
other fire department's gonna
equipment be
come
gone?
in and work with you guys.
How will the equipment be
Because
gone?
as that stuff gets old, it happened at Harrison. Harrison had
I don't
trucks.
care what
Let's
happens in
just
Harrison.
take a vote on it and get it over.
But what do you
only
think will
have a
happen to
motion,
your
you don't
equipment?
have a second, you can't vote.
What do you think will happen to your equipment? How will it disappear?
Do you think we
Well,
won't
I'll tell
maintain
you
They're
it?
still gonna maintain it. They're still gonna take it out in the county and put out fires. How is it
I'll
gonna
tell-
disappear?
I'll tell you, I was the Farm Bureau president when the territory was formed down there. And Harrison at one time had trucks running around with Harrison Township on the side of it. They got traded off. The new trucks had Bluffton's name on the title.
You're
And-
still buying the fire trucks. You're still buying Jefferson Township trucks. We're still buying Aussie trucks. What's the difference, Tim?
It's not like the fire trucks are going away, we'll still have
But
fire
see,
You
trucks.
still own the
But-
fire
But
trucks.
see,
It's still in your name.
our budget, we're using to maintain our trucks. We're buying your fuel, we're
They're
changing
gonna
our
maintain
one.
it for us. That's what this
The money's gonna
agreement
be
is.
spent the exact same way, except I'm not gonna come here every month and argue every single bill to get it paid.
With the new
'Cause that's
contract,
what
you would
will
no
happen.
longer be paying for our fuel. It would be 50-50.
You don't pay for anything except the two
It would be
things.
50-50. You would no longer be paying for our fuel.
To propose to them
Yeah, you did.
$35,000 for labor and
No
the
one
balance.
seconded it.
I'll second it.
Take a vote.
Will the town accept that?
We can't
It
speak
doesn't-
for the
it
town
doesn't-
or
they
the
can't speak
people.
They can't speak.
We
for it,
can't
so
agree to that.
They can take it back.
But at
to
the
the
meeting
vote.
last
Take it to
time-
a vote.
Yep,
No,
take it to a vote.
but I'm
Nick,
saying,
All
you're
in
the
favor?
president.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Okay,
Jerry, you got,
I thought that if we can't agree
we made a motion.
and the trustee has the power to decide. Is that
as long as all three of them there and it's a 2-1 vote, then they decide.
You can only break a tie.
You can only break that.
And they just voted.
We just
Oh,
voted.
Larry, we need to go ahead and present that letter.
Um,
You did already.
Yeah, he already
Yeah.
presented something.
Yeah, he presented it.
I have a question. Is the township board involved in your budget process? Because I'm worried about taxpayers' money. Like, I'm not saying you would do this, but I don't want you to say, next year it's 300,000. The year after that it's 400,000 and we're paying half.
as of
Do
right
they
now,
have input in that budget?
No.
Okay, could we make that happen? So that they could feel like they were
Ben-
looking after?
Ben makes the budget, and then he presents it to the board and we approve it or not. They can look at it, but I'm not gonna have them nitpick it like they do everything else. I'm not gonna say, we're not gonna pay this $25, we're not gonna pay this
So they have
$50.
no
I
mean,
input
it's-
on the
it's-
budget that they're required to pay 50%.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But,
saying.
yeah, they can look at it, yeah.
But they have no input. You just said you refused.
If there's something that they,
We've had no input in it so far. In its contract, we've had no input.
Because it
The
feels
board
to me
had
like
it. Take a
both
look at
sides
it.
are digging in their heels and there's no room for compromise. There has
this
to
has
be
been going
compromise.
on since 2010.
I get it, but still, it's not too late for some kind of
Right,
compromise.
yeah, they're more than welcome to look at it and make suggestions.
But I hear you saying the same, I hear they saying it's this.
We made a
They're saying it's
suggestion.
this way, there has to be a
Right.
coming in the middle of some,
We've done it,
Way.
since 2010, we've done it their way, and we just can't afford to do that anymore. It's a county nightmare to pay
Afford it
every
in what
single
way
bill.
though? What can't, is it time? Are you getting paid to do it? Why is it such an accounting nightmare?
He sends us a bill, we have to write a check for that. I mean, how many extra checks are we writing? It's just
No, no.
ridiculous.
I don't think it is. You're
It
getting a
is.
receipt and you're getting that item.
I'm a
that's
trustee
listed
and I'm
in
telling you,
the-
I know it would be a nightmare. I've been
It
writing.
is.
It shouldn't matter.
It will matter.
Then it
asking
shouldn't
for
matter that they
money
just give us half the
From the
budget.
township.
They can look at the budget, they can have their input, they know what we're spending the money on, so what difference does it
is
make?
their input gonna matter, or is it
Yeah,
just gonna be
I'm
like the
sure it
rest of
will.
us sitting and watching something and we have no?
It depends, it depends. If they're gonna nitpick every little dime, we're not gonna I mean, the town
So
board
they're
would
allowed
have the
to have
final
input
decision.
only if
Yeah.
it's input you want to hear.
No, I mean, if
Larry,
it's,
that's
if
what
it's
you
a
keep saying.
major, if it's a major purchase, yes.
We've made
But
a
if it's
motion.
$25 for a gas can, no.
No, I don't think anybody.
We're done.
That's not
Yes,
reasonable.
yes, they
That's
do.
what they want to do.
That's what they do.
Well, that's not reasonable.
Yes.
Well, Larry, I've seen
So,
some
hey,
of your
hey, guys.
in budgeting, so I don't blame them for that.
So,
Maybe you and I should meet on that.
hey guys, I'll just say this here right now. Town of Ossian came to the township board last year requesting $100,000. Tim proposed only doing 60,000. We made a compromise to get up to 79,000. That's still not what Ossian wanted to come up to 100,000. So right there, the board decided we're not going to come up to your 100,000. They didn't even want to come up to 79,000. It took a little bit for we get up to 79,000. So it's already like they're saying we do have a little bit of say, and it's going to be the same thing. And it's we
haven't got 79, and I don't know how we're gonna
Right.
get 79.
What my suggestion is gonna be is that this agreement be visited and talked about in October of every year. Budget should be set and it would be known, and then we would come to the board and say, this is what we are proposing as our new agreement that would go into effect January 1st of the following year. They can agree to that or not agree to that. And they can look at the budget at that point. And if they don't agree to it, then whatever the current agreement is would stay in effect until an agreement can be made.
That
Correct?
sounds like a realistic way to.
It needs to be
Your board
reviewed
would
every
not
year.
even meet with them to form.
I was never asked if I would meet with anybody.
So who's to say that they would meet with them every October when they wouldn't even meet to, according to them, wouldn't even meet?
I meet with them and it accomplishes nothing. Josh Barkley does not want to meet with them if they're not gonna be reasonable.
I think a lot of
It's been their way only
fighting-
forever.
we couldn't even get a straight answer last night at the meeting as to what was talked about at the previous meeting. We were told if you want to know, you have to attend.
I can't speak for my board. I can't.
But you want us
You
to
were
speak for the
asked
board.
about what happened at
the
the
reason I
previous
was there-
meeting. Why can't you talk about what
you're
happened at a
correct.
previous meeting?
Because we, in the first place, we never got to discuss this contract between us board members. So I can't comment on a contract that we never even got to discuss. We didn't get to discuss it until right now.
You had that contract for over a month.
But we didn't get to
And I was
discuss it
waiting.
as a board, Larry.
You
We
could've given me
can't, we
your-
can't talk to each other. All we can do is talk to you. And why I go to the meetings is because he can't be trusted. That's why I gotta go there, so I can hear what you guys say, because he won't tell us the truth.
That is an insult.
Well,
You can't
that's the
trust-
truth. I'm
He was
sorry.
voted in by the county.
Well, I'm
He's
just telling you the
trustworthy.
truth.
What happened to your former trustee?
I'm just telling you what
He did
my
nothing.
experience
An
is.
opinion.
Well,
It's an
It's your opinion. All right, let's move forward.
One other, I want to answer some. Larry does not pay the town for turnout gear and that. When we get turnout gear, we get our bills direct from the vendor and we go directly to
And
the
we don't
vendor.
pay the
So the
town
town's
nothing.
not handling the money.
Yeah, they're not handling none of our money.
The fire department sends us a bill, we pay the vendor direct, and that way we have a record of that asset. So as far as an accounting nightmare for the town, that the town really doesn't have anything in it that way. We pay for their fuel, they got fuel cards. We pay for all the diesel fuel on all the trucks, their truck, the county rescue,
Anything
our
with diesel
truck.
fuel, we
And
pay.
so they've got fuel cards and the bill comes to us and we pay that. We pay for our oil changes on our trucks. If they need tires, we got to buy the tires. That's what our budget money is used for. We bought air packs.
Changes to spend 79,000 this year though.
But we made a proposal on how we can do that by giving them 35 for their labor.
I think the town's been pretty clear that the agreement that they've got on the table here is the agreement that they're,
We've already voted.
Yeah, so let's move on.
Yeah, move on.
well, we need to decide if that's their proposal. There's no counter proposal on yours.
Well, I can't.
We
You can't say
can't,
it.
we're
I'll
only
have that,
two
you
people.
have to take it back to the
We would
board.
have to take it to the
Okay.
next board meeting.
Okay.
We'll do that.
All right. Do you need something in writing from them, from the counter proposal?
No.
Okay. Okay,
I'm just gonna hang out with this and
All right.
watch the rest.
All
Thank you.
right, see you.
thank you, guys. I just want to say one thing. You guys are putting Jefferson Township outside of the incorporated area of Ossian, chance of losing fire protection.
I also want to know what your, what do you say, your thoughts or proposal of doing something else if this was to happen.
We're gonna wait and see how they come back.
No, I want to know what your suggestion.
You're not gonna know. I'm not gonna tell you.
Of course.
He's a Jefferson Township.
Yeah.
If he's going to lose fire protection, he wants
Because
to know
I'm,
about
I'm
it.
not gonna play my hand when they're considering a proposal.
They're not going to change their mind, Tim.
Well-
I'm telling you that right now.
That's up to them. That's not up to you, Larry.
Okay, after this next meeting,
I want to know what kind of situation you're putting me in now.
Exactly.
You're
You-
putting
you
me
don't
in,
have to
you're putting me in a position.
You don't have to worry about anything
Yeah,
till
I do.
December.
Yeah, they do.
December
That's
31st.
I know,
December
but you're back with the
31st.
radios. And you did not think about our safety, what we wanted back then. I know how you operate, Tim. So I want to know what your thoughts, what your suggestions are, what's the word I'm looking for, of how you're going to fix this if this happens. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if something happens, it's on you. And I'll make sure it's on you.
Okay.
And what,
You ready
what,
to move
what
on?
fire department's gonna, I'm gonna say this, what fire department's gonna come in and help us?
No.
Nobody. Nobody. Nobody.
Every
All right.
fire department around here is short-staffed. That's why Elm County has had to form fire districts to raise money to provide paid staff. So I want to know what your thing is. To make sure I get adequate fire protection if this happens.
We'll have adequate.
I have to prepare.
I need to know. I need to know as a board member. You won't tell me anything. That's what's bad. Nobody talks on this board. Larry doesn't talk to us. You guys don't talk to me. You guys don't talk to Larry. Nobody talks to each other. Why can't we be grown-ups and talk to each other? Now we're a bunch of toddlers on this board.
That's not right.
We are a bunch of toddlers. I'm including myself, okay? Why can't we be grown-ups and figure this out? Why can't we talk? I'm asking a question. Why can't we talk?
And I'm asking you on your proposal.
Tim, you may have a better idea that needs to be proposed to our board so we can discuss it and all this stuff can go away. But we need to know what your backup plan is. Jefferson Township residents who you provide fire protection to, they need to know their house isn't going to burn down.
They have protection till December 31st.
And then after December 31st?
Then what's going on?
I'm not gonna tell you my proposal now because I was told by the,
So you're having conversations. So you're no different than what you're saying about anybody else here.
Correct.
With Larry going and saying this, you're already out there talking this shit.
we just got a letter. I gotta look for fire protection somewhere.
Don't tell me this just came about. This has been in the works with you. I know that. This ain't the first time this discussion's been brought up. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't have put your article in the paper, which was what, a month ago? Two? Whatever. You knew this was coming down the pipeline, Tim.
No.
So tell
Yes.
me, yes, you did.
Are you thinking of going to the 23rd? They're going to explain the fire district concept. Are you thinking that you would really
I'm
like to
not.
hear that and join that?
I'm not,
Because that's the fire chiefs coming in.
yeah.
And, what Don Craig chooses to do with Bluffton is totally different than Ossian.
Yeah.
And our fire department with, with Ossian and Jefferson.
Actually, it'd be with the, Wells County Commissioners
Right.
would make the decision.
I've
And I'll tell
already-
you what, I'm all for it. I've been on Southwest for 33 years. And also paid. I want full-time staff down here.
Well, and for the time and training that they mandatory back 10 or 15 years ago on the fire services.
True.
That's why we have no volunteers.
Right, because now it takes, you can get somebody to come in that wants to be a volunteer.
Yeah.
You can get a 30-hour cert, which is only for exterior, nothing else. That doesn't allow them to go in until they get their hazmat ops and their firefighter 2. And that's over a year. That is over a year
On top
program.
of,
Family life.
cutting up vehicles and
Larry.
just doing all kinds of stuff.
Larry.
Responding to a school bus with 65 kids on it. I mean, I took the fire service course when I was in Homeland Security. And you should have seen the mandatory testing and courses I had to take just for that small position that the Wells County wouldn't pay me for. So,
When I got on, the fire book was like that thick. Now, it's that thick.
Tim, there's one thing you need to understand. As a board member, you are not allowed to negotiate contracts. That's up to the trustee. Any information that you've got, you need to share with
I
me.
can't propose what I proposed then, Tony, is that what he's saying, or is that right?
yeah. Indiana code, I think.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
You can share with me the information that you've got with whatever you've done so far, but I need to be brought in so I can negotiate with whoever you're talking to. Or your negotiation needs to stop right now.
Okay.
He's never said he's negotiating with anybody.
I know.
He's been negotiating behind
Yeah,
the back.
Yes,
It's not,
Anybody.
He doesn't
It's
just
talk-
sit down and dream this. He's had input from someone.
But that
I
doesn't
know.
mean there's negotiation.
That's negotiation.
going on. That's semantics to say it's negotiation. You and I talking right now could be negotiations by that same logic.
It's
He's
negotiation.
admitted to have a conversation, that's it. He has not said he's negotiated anything.
Okay,
Again, I just don't understand why we can't get a third uninterested party, let's say from Fort Wayne, I don't care, to sit down with these two boards and figure this out. That is what rational people do. I don't understand why we can't do that.
Because we don't have rational people on this board. Put it as simple as
That's
that.
why you bring
The
in a
other
third
board would not
person.
meet with this board
But,
either.
all right, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's go to township guidelines. Let's go. I want to get out of here.
Tony, I think you may have some input in this. so
On the
can you hang-
guidelines.
Can you hang around?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you enjoying it?
Okay, you guys asked about the guidelines, so go ahead. What did you want to talk about?
Basically, the only thing we have on the guidelines is what we proposed last time about the limits, set the limits on the guidelines. Are you going to agree to those limits, or what you're, 'cause that's, what you have is not efficient enough. We need to have, because you're doing better of not spending so much money this year, but there's still some things like car payments we don't feel like is appropriate use of township assistance.
You see the stack right here? We are on revision 8 of the township assistance guidelines. This is all different revisions that me and the investigator have been working on to try to iron something out that you guys are happy with and we're happy with. The agreement, the last agreement, revision 8, is going to stay in place because we cannot, if we do change anything, it's going to go against Indiana code. And the guidelines that are on the table are staying there.
Yeah, I'm all right.
I am not changing
That's
them.
door on the right. Thank you.
So, Tony, this would be a question for you. Can the township propose stronger, I'm trying to think how to put this, can we say, put further limits on what the state code has? Because we say, hey, you can only get assistance every 90 days. The state doesn't say we can limit that. Can we do that as a township?
Ask that again.
So as a township, can we put in, the state doesn't say we can limit people to every 90 days of assistance. Can the township say that?
Can we put just an overall general?
Let me put it this way. I don't believe you can be more restrictive than what the state sets the minimum things to be. Now, I'm not familiar with, precisely what the state guidelines, if they have specific, I don't know if they get very specific. So I can't give you a direct answer on that, but in general, if the state sets a minimum, you usually cannot go below that minimum. Now, I don't know that you're talking about minimums or what you're talking about.
Or more like spending limits. Is that, because the state doesn't say there can't be spending limits.
I doubt that the statute talks about specific limits,
Right.
dollar amounts or anything like that.
And that's one of the things that the board is want to prevent from, say, one person coming in and getting $2,000 of help while another person.
I guess the way I would respond to that, if the state says you've got to provide this type of assistance and your limitations prevent the trustee from providing that assistance, then that's contrary to the state law. That's the way I would see it.
Every case is an individual
According
case.
to what I've got out of the State Board of Accounts is though, the main thing of it all is his budget. And he cannot overspend his budget.
Well, that's probably true.
I mean, he cannot overspend his budget. So what the budget is set at, he cannot overspend that money.
Unless I appropriate money, which we had to do last year.
No, not unless you appropriate money, unless we appropriate.
You voted approval.
We did on one occasion.
So
yes, but-
my
but we
feeling
can-
is, I just want to make sure it's a fair playing ground for everybody who comes for township assistance. Is there anything wrong with that? That's what my main focus is.
That's an opinion. That's up to you guys to decide.
And that's what it's I want to make sure everybody gets the same opportunity they come in. Not one person getting more than the other. I just want to make sure everybody gets the same.
I guess if you set a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and that budget gets exhausted, then you've taken away opportunities for anybody might come in after that.
Correct. And that's why I like to see limits on it to say, hey, that way we know for the whole year everybody's set for that.
Well, all I can say is if you set limits that prevent Larry from providing assistance where it needs to be provided, and then they go back to the county
Commissioners.
It is what it is.
Well, we've also
the law says it's up to the county commissioners.
Exactly. Yeah,
Not us,
Right.
them to pay
Right.
the bill.
No, it's still us that has to pay the bill.
Yeah.
The commissioners
No,
just
it's
have
up to
to.
the county commissioners.
No, the commissioners don't pay.
No.
It's still township assistance.
It's township.
But the other thing, I'm not trying to think where it was.
Are we talking, like fire services?
No.
equipment and things?
No, this is
Are we
township
talking about
This is like poor relief.
assistance?
Poor relief.
Personal.
Right, personal. So like, if you would have a bill come up or something, or you lost your job,
But there's a 7-page questionnaire that they have to fill out.
right.
They will not pay for like cell phones, cigarettes.
Well, that's
He does pay for
They
cell
gotta
phones.
show
yes.
you my income,
right.
W-2.
But see, that's the issue we ran into in last year. He paid for cell phones. He's been paying for cars, and
Yeah, it's a 7-page paper.
right,
You need to see it. I don't even know if I could fill it out.
right.
Well,
And that's
the investigator.
right. And that's the thing we had happen in the past, and that's why we want to put those limitations in there because we don't.
Yes.
We're agreeable to maybe because it's modern day, but like limit to cell phones for $50 a month or whatever.
Well,
internet $100. It's,
What if that person's severe diabetic or waiting for a transplant?
right.
There's such a
I know there's so many things.
limitation there.
Right. And that's why you say it's always open up to, hey, this person here needs a little bit more assistance.
Right.
And we just want to have that conversation.
Exactly.
And we don't want to say, hey, you can't do that. No, bring it back to us. Like, hey, okay, we understand the situation. Let's go.
And would mileage, would that be set with the county's budget, like 42 cents a mile or something? I mean, that's something to think about. We've got children right here in Ossian
Right.
that need care at Riley or even Chicago.
Right, yep. And that's,
Ventilator patients at our local hospital, if they can't get into a nursing home, do you know where they're sending people? They're sending them to Chicago or
Right.
Cleveland.
right.
Who's got the money to stay in a hotel while your family is being cared for, possibly death? That's something that we've really got to look into.
Right. And we're, like I said, we just want to make sure it's a fair playing ground. That's my goal, is to make sure it's a fair playing ground for everybody, so that everybody has the same opportunity coming in.
And Liberty Center Township trustee, he said to me, he passes out so many of these applications and no one follows through with it.
Right.
So he has money in his budget
Right.
to help people, but he just can't give it away.
Right. Yep.
And so I appreciate you guys looking into that. I would like to volunteer to, get some information for you and bring it to you for some things like that.
So, I'm sorry, did I miss the conversation of we can set maximum amounts?
Tony can't say yes or no on that. He says we can't set a worse minimum than we can't go lower than minimum, right?
Basically what I said to him when you were out was, if the maximums, if the limitations that you set prevent the trustee from providing the poor relief that he's required to provide, then that's a problem. And it could create a situation where they appeal it to the commissioners, if your limitations don't allow him to do
But that's
that.
up to the trustee, but we could set like a maximum limit of
Money.
the amount of money per household, and then it's up to him to distribute it.
No, that's up to the trustee's discretion.
That's not right.
It's up to the trustees.
I thought you looked out code up on that.
Yeah, I thought I was pretty sure the state board of accounts thought we can set the limits on.
The limits on money, but we can't set, like, I know you want every 90 days. I don't think we could do the 90 days, is what it's coming down to. We could set, hey, here's your maximum you can get for food, because that's already in there. Housing, we could do a maximum on that, because it's already in there. We could do maximum on cell phones. We could do maximum on internet, but we can't say, what it comes down, we can't say you can't get assistance more than every 90 days.
Last year was an exceptionally bad year. We had 3 people that were disabled, but normally when you get disabled, it takes a year to start getting disability pay. And so last year does not represent what a normal year is going to be. So far this year, we are averaging $461 a month. If we carry that through the whole year, that's $5,532 that we're going to spend. And we've got a budget that you approved of $25,800. So this year is not going to be anything like what last year was. And you can't set limits on people because everybody is different. Like this lady who couldn't get on disability, but she had absolutely no income. She's going to require more assistance than somebody else. So I can't tell her, well, we're only going to pay half of your house payment or half of your rent, and then she still loses her house because she can't come up with all the money.
Yeah, you can't set a limit for like $500 for me, $500 for that.
And that's the thing that's in there, and he had it in there too, is per household, there is limits for that. Because based off what current rent is, because other townships do it too in the state. So we've gone through, looked at other townships. So other townships have put limits on these same things.
I was just going to ask. This is on revision 8. What are other townships? Lancaster, Rock Creek, Union. Do they have guidelines, and have we looked at what those are and how ours compare to theirs?
We've been meeting as a county with the trustees, and I'm on the cemetery commission board. And we have found out that a lot of the trustees do not know their job description. We have a guy in the northern part. He had sat there at the meeting and said, "Oh, I've got lots of money. I've got 50, 60,000 just sitting here." but nobody comes to me for prescriptions or anything. Well, it's just that he
Is
doesn't.
that his fault
he's
that
not
nobody
really
comes to
connected.
him though?
What?
That's more like the people don't know what they're supposed to do. That's not his fault.
No, but
Right?
the thing is, he's been at the job over 22 years. And you would think during that time, he'd run into people and they'd understand the job. But they come and they fill out the applications but
When,
he's just not workable. There is a
What township is that?
person that's over northeast Indiana and all the
Yeah, that's what I'm
trustees.
saying.
It's
I-
the
She's saying a
Indiana,
lot of good stuff here.
Indiana trustee.
Well, to ITA, the Indiana Township Association.
Yeah.
They're an advisory, sort of an advisory group, yes.
That might be someone that you could contact because she's over northeast Indiana. The name I can get for you, I can't think of it right now.
The only thing is,
So have you guys looked at other?
Yeah, we've,
yeah,
not in the county, because the other townships in this county do not have guidelines. But we have looked at other townships in the state. So
How is what Larry's presenting compared to those?
other townships do have limits in there of how much assistance they can give out. So other townships have set the limits. Now, we've had people want to do time limits. Other townships don't do that, but they do have how much assistance could be given out to each person.
financial limits
Correct.
versus frequency limits.
Correct, yeah. So I get it, we can't have a frequency limit is what it comes down to, but we can have a financial limit. And that's, I think, our biggest thing is we want to make sure there's, like I said, I want to make sure it's a fair playing ground for everybody. So everybody comes in knowing right from the get-go, okay, I can only maybe get a total of $750 for rent for this month. And that's why I think our lowest level is $750 for rent. If there's two people, I think it's I can't remember, 800. And if more than three people or whatever, it's 1,000 or something like that a month for rent. Yes, Stephanie.
I do have one question. I don't know what all the investigator looks into, but is one of the criteria, one of the things that you guys look into is if they've received assistance from other.
Yes, they're supposed to receive. They're supposed to get assistance before they even come to us. So they need to make sure they hit up the state. They need to make sure they hit up. We're their last line of defense.
I know when I was working in the town hall building, we had some people that every month it was Salvation Army paid this bill,
Right.
somebody else paid that bill, trustee
Right.
paid this one. So I just was curious.
Yeah, and
that's part of it.
that is part of it. Yes.
The investigator of the township person,
Mhm.
that is who collects all this information.
Gotcha.
And then she can bring it to
The trustee.
this or the trustee. But yeah, it's
The-
investigated.
the thing, one of the things I asked for is a bullet point that tells, simplifies it. Here's what we've been getting, 35 pages.
Yeah.
Now, if you want assistance, what's your chances of finding what you need in here?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for something more.
Tim, if you compare that to the actual Indiana state codes, that's about half as thick as the codes.
And that's fine.
Really is.
But there's also, I think what Tim's getting at is he wants to be able. We still have this big one, but there's also needs to be the brief version, so
So
everybody.
you're wanting like a little cookie cutter.
Correct.
For Jackson or Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think this person that's over the counties, northeast Indiana, I think she would be a wonderful source. And like I say, I care about our Jefferson Township. I live here, I've been here 50 years, and I'll be glad to do anything that you guys would ask me to do to bring information for you.
I have talked to, it used to be Julia Goons was her name from
That's the name. Yeah.
Kosciuszko. I've talked to Julia. Caleb, I wanted to run one. You asked me if anybody else, we've looked at anybody else in Bucks County.
I'm just curious.
Okay, this is Lancaster's Township. This is actually an IT, the Indiana Township Association's guidelines that we started with. And then we took and massaged it to fit closer to Jefferson Township. Lancaster Township took this here, they changed their name on here, and they accepted the ITA guidelines just as they were written. We are the only only township in Wells County that even has the guidelines turned into the auditor. That's where we have to turn them in. Nobody else has got them turned in. And then when I talk to these other guys about it, they just sort of chuckle at me, Larry.
Is that still
Yeah,
recording or did it shut off?
So that would be your job description in a way.
So you did turn in the
Yeah,
last.
how much money does Lancaster Township spend a year in township assistance?
I thought I saw that the last time they budgeted was 45,000.
I thought it was higher than that.
I thought it was about 100.
Yeah.
It was at one time, but it's not like that anymore.
You've got such a different household.
Right, they've got more mobile home courts.
Yeah.
Right. But that's all we're asking is on that, what we presented back to them. So I get it, we can't do the 90-day limit, but we still want to be able to have those maxes.
Well, the other thing is, a lot of these guidelines say the trustee may. And one of them that I really have a problem with is the trustee may pay a mortgage.
But with that one,
Stipulation, though.
the stipulation on that is he has to put a lien on the property.
Yeah, but he's paid the mortgage and never put the lien on.
I
So-
only had that one case, and that was a mobile home, and I can't put a lien on a mobile home.
And I have a problem paying a person's mortgage. I mean, we can help them out, but if you're gonna lose your house, it's like spending good money after bad.
I understand, but what's
The state says we have to do it. That's the trouble, Tim. The state says we have to do it. Like I said, have you talked to Lehman about this to tell him to change that law, that ruling?
When it says may, do we have to do that, Tony? When it says the trustee may, can we have in our guidelines that he can't do that?
No, I don't think so. If it says he may, it's his decision, his discretion.
It's a district.
So you can't just cut his legs out from under him and say, no, you can't do it. Because if the law says he may do it, then he has that discretion. Now, you can give him guidelines on that discretion.
And then, like, his discretion is, hey, he may be able to help, but we're only going to pay $750 of that mortgage. That's the
I don't
word.
think you can just take it away from him, but you can.
We can put, like you said, we can put that financial limit.
If the guy has got a, say, $1,000 mortgage, and he's still gonna lose his house if he doesn't get it, and even if he gives him $750, and he's still gonna lose his house, and we know we're only gonna have to help him maybe for a couple of months, we're gonna help him.
And that's the discussion that could be brought up to the board.
And then there's taxes.
Right. Right. There's way more involved in all this. And we don't know everybody's situation. We don't know, but like I said, there's always a lot more involved than what we ever see.
And that's why you've got the investigator
Right.
that's gonna help you guys. Get
And
the
again-
information and give it to you.
And again, these people are supposed to go to other organizations first before coming to. So hopefully before they come to us, hey, I got $1,000 mortgage. Maybe they got $250 from Northeast Indiana Cares. And then maybe they get that $250 and then we cover the rest, and that's
And
fine.
that covers on the application.
Correct.
Questions. But do you know, to go get food at the food bank, you have to have a slip from the trustee's office? Like if I was in a pinch for a month, I didn't have food, my husband's diabetic, he has to have nutrition,
Right.
and I would have to come and get a slip and show Larry how much I've made or my social security or whatever, and before I can go get food.
We've got a client right now that he was in the hospital for a month, in a coma for half the time. And his church agreed with us, we got with the church, and they agreed to pay half of the expenses. And so we are the last line, but the church was only willing to go halfway.
And that's there's no issue with that. Like I said, that's where you put that limit in and say, no, hey, coming in, I can only maybe get 750. So I need to go find those other areas. There's not an issue with that, Larry.
Right.
And that's
I
what we're
think
trying to
he
figure
was,
out.
I think he was just trying to explain.
Right.
That there's other places. to go
Right.
to.
And
Yeah.
yeah, Stephanie.
Maybe not so much like a limitation, but maybe if it is all viewed as a case by case basis. So like one of the things that all of our departments have to do for the town is if it's anything over $500, they have to come and get
Approval.
approval. So maybe if you set a limit to say, if what we're providing assistance for is over X amount of dollars.
And we put that in there before.
Then we look at that
Right.
as a case by case.
And we've put that in there before and it's been rejected. That say, hey, if they need more assistance than that 750, please schedule a meeting with the board and we can talk about it.
Let me ask, practically speaking.
It's not the greatest, right?
That if you gotta come to the board, you gotta put your notice in the paper, you gotta schedule it and everything. And are you guys willing to have special meetings so that Larry can try to meet the timeline of the need? That, I'm just.
I know, yeah, I get it. And that's.
Because they run them in the paper and all that.
Right.
One of the things that's been done that I have a problem with, it says you can provide transportation to seek employment and you can provide transportation to accept employment. But then we're making car payments and spending $500 on somebody's car so they can get to work.
That particular case, the gentleman lost his job out here, got a job at Quick Cuts over in New Haven, making $25 an hour. We helped him for that one or 2 months, and we haven't seen him again.
We just paid another car payment.
That's this fellow that was in a coma. He couldn't make his payment because he was in the hospital in a coma. And the person that was helping him talked to us about
Are we
that.
responsible for keeping his car because he's in the hospital?
When he's out of there now, and he can drive his car.
It's a flow.
If everybody is just different, and you guys don't know this because you don't meet with them. Me and the investigator meet with them, and if we can help them to get them out of the system as soon as we can, that's our job. And I'm showing you that right now with the amount of money that we spent this year. We're not going to come close to the budget. Somebody's got to start trusting us. I was elected to do a job, and I'm trying to do the job to the best of my ability, and somebody's going to have to start trusting me that I'm doing that.
Well, it came from no communication probably, or no work, from the last few years till it came to you. Now you're cleaning up a mess and you're going bonkers. The county commissioners, everybody's really proud of you. There's probably some people in here that don't agree, but Larry has brought Jefferson Township out of the blue. I mean, out of the red zone that's not been appreciated and stuff. And he's helping people. And I don't think the other guy that was before Larry was even in the office much and wasn't returning phone calls. I mean, I called him a couple times. My husband, he's diabetic. He's on 14 meds a day. And I got to the point where I didn't have any money to buy some prescriptions. And I come to Barry last year, and he never would get back with me. I left a voicemail, and I ended up going to my family, and they helped me out. But I have 12 brothers and sisters, and it's pretty devastating to have to ask your brother for $1,000 for one prescription, and now I've had heart problems because of stress and just my chemistry, and I'm on huge amounts monthly too. And hey, I might be coming to Larry real soon about needing just assistance,
Well, I guess the issue is we only have a certain amount of money, right?
Correct.
25,000 something a year to spend on this.
Unless we appropriate more.
Poor relief, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Township
but
assistance.
appropriating it from, let's say, it doesn't matter to me who pays for it, the commissioners or us, that's still us.
It's still.
So it
Still
doesn't
tax.
matter, it's still
The
taxpayers
commissioners-
paying it.
Yeah, they don't pay.
They don't
for
pay.
it. We
Doesn't
could
matter,
borrow
it's gonna
from
be
them if we
Wells County
have to.
residents who are paying it, taxpayers are paying it. If we only have a certain amount and that's what's budgeted, what happens if we don't spend that this year, Larry?
It stays in the poor relief for township assistance.
So if we roll over 20,000,
It rolls over.
then next year the budget for that's gonna be 45,000?
No, we may not, like this year, if we don't come close to spending 25,800, we will not budget that much money next year. And the money that's not spent this year will just stay in the township assistance.
Yeah, every category has a year-end balance.
Right.
Even like firefighting, when we needed air packs, we appropriated money that was left over from other years. And so, but you have a budget, and that's what they base the tax on. But then if you need extra money, you can appropriate out of money that's been left from years past. But our problem in township assistance is we're $12,000 in the red from last year. In other words, we spent more money than we had budgeted. We appropriated what we had left. It's gone, and we're $12,000 in the hole.
And
How much
eventually
did
that
you say
catches
from
up.
all the prior years where you weren't providing?
Well, we went through all that. You know, we had 30,000 to start with, and we went through all of it.
Tim, that money's gonna be paid back. We borrowed that money,
Right.
and in June, it's gonna be paid back.
Paid back from who?
It'll
From
be-
the township
We
assistance.
borrowed it from the general fund, and it's going to be paid back when we get I think we get a settlement in June and December, the money from the treasurer. When June comes, then we will have quite a bit of money, and then that money that we borrowed from the general fund will be paid back to the general fund.
So you're spending tax money that's over than borrowing tax money, which is then replaced by more tax money.
No.
How is the money being replaced then? That's what
We
we don't
receive,
understand.
we turn in a budget every year, and then in June and December, we receive approximately half of that money that we have budgeted
From who?
from the treasurer,
Where did their money come
State.
from
you.
property tax.
Yeah.
That's
So
your,
it's tax money refunding tax money. It's still tax money.
Well,
Yes.
Basically, you're
spending
moving it
tax
from
money,
one
account
you're
account.
borrowing
It's a
tax
whole lot
money,
bigger
and
than
that
what you
tax
think.
money is being paid back with.
We're just moving from one account to the next.
Where
Yes,
the towns get their money to give to.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just moving from one account to the
It's
next.
the
It's
magic
like you're
push
taking it out of your savings account to cover your checking account,
Yes.
and then when you get your next check, you put it back in your savings.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
That's what we did, yeah.
That did not raise taxes though by doing that.
I didn't ask to raise taxes. It's still tax money that is being.
Well, everything I've got is tax money.
Yes, you're spending over the budget, so you're borrowing money from here, which is then being replaced from another tax fund. So no matter where you're borrowing money from, it is still tax money.
Every dollar I spend is tax money.
That's my point.
it's basically a cash flow problem. Since he ran out of money, he doesn't get the spring payment you pay in May, he doesn't get till June. So he had no money for township assistance from January 1 till he gets his June payment. And so they loaned him $12,000 from the general, and it's supposed to pay the general back within what, 6
Yes,
months or a
6
year?
months. 6 months, so by June, you're
Yeah.
supposed to pay it back.
Yeah.
So, say Larry has an account sheet, like a spreadsheet. If you're in the zero, for, assistance, but yet you've got money down here from the Florida Fire Department designated, can you,
No, we can't take-
appropriate that?
we can't take it from-
You can only take it from the general.
Okay.
So that's what we did at the beginning of the year. Since he was in the negative at the end of last year, we had negative money to begin this year. So we loaned money from the general to the assistants to get us back up into the positive, and then he needs to pay that loan back by June.
And the general is the county council?
No,
No.
the general is our
The
fund.
general
That's
is-
what Larry pays his wages out of, pays our wages out of, pays for Tony,
Yeah.
pays
Office supply,
office supplies,
So
you know.
Computers.
It's
everything
general.
that's not fire or
It's basically all funds that are not appropriated.
right, everything but fire and township assistance is basically where general comes out. Because cemeteries come out of the general too.
Yeah.
I'm glad we could explain that, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's a lot of public officials that don't understand it.
All right. So I think if we come down to it, if we take out that 90-day limit, I think we could probably come to agreement with those limitations on the financial side. like I said, there's going to be times where maybe somebody needs a little bit more assistance. And that's where you say, hey, it's going to suck, but maybe it only happens once a year where you have to call a special meeting within that 48 hours. You give them that 750 or 1,000, however many people there is. And then within 48 hours, hopefully you can call a meeting and we can have a meeting and we can do more than that. Would that work?
Well, I'm not saying it wouldn't work sometimes, but you gotta understand.
We got it, Larry. We understand it. It's not going to work every single time. But this is the worst case scenario where you can't help somebody right away. But hey, you help them best you can. You come back to us, and then we can say, yeah, okay, we agree, we get it. This person's really hurting. We need to help out.
Normally, when I see these people, go ahead. Jerry.
When someone needs a bill helped with, you don't give them like cash from your office. You pay that bill through the
check. We basically rewrite the check for that customer.
So say like he needs meds at Walgreens, I can go there and then the bill is sent to the county.
You get a voucher, don't you?
How's that? I don't know.
It's like if you need your town water bill paid, the trustee pays directly to the town of Austin.
And it's the same thing with if you need medication, he has to pay that direct.
But it doesn't go to the person. And
No.
I think you they'll
No, they don't. The person never gets the money.
Okay.
It goes either to the company, their landlord.
Yeah.
It goes to whoever.
Pharmacy.
Correct.
Would you give your kid the money?
So the people don't actually.
What I would not.
So these people don't actually get the money. So like again, within 48 hours, he can call a meeting within 48 hours.
Yeah.
And so hey, this person comes to him. He can call a meeting within 48 hours. So what is 48 hours going to do a difference if they need 1,000 to 750? What is 48 hours going to do? Correct.
Well, there's time.
What?
No,
I would hope somebody does not wait till their due date to come in for assistance, but I know people don't always do that. And that's the trouble. Yeah, I get it. Their due date is this, and that's, hey, we could do it. Because even if they come under the due date, he's going to write a check.
Larry, is that compromise acceptable to you?
if that's the, see, Tony, every time we have a new revision.
Just answer the question.
I would be willing, I want it defined to exactly what we're talking about, because I have got more things that they want changed now than when we first started this project. Everything keeps moving around. If you can let me know exactly what you want, then we'll talk about it.
We could do that. We can go back to one of the original ones we've had and go back to that. Like I said, and it's always changed, because you always guys go back and change it too, Larry, on your end. And we're trying to come to that middle ground. So, but I think we can come to the agreement that if more assistance is needed than what we could do, he needs to call that meeting within 48 hours.
So is that written in the proposal that you have given?
At one time, I think it was that he can call a meeting.
You need to come up with the document that you want.
Right.
So that
I have to go back and I got documents written. I just have to go back and find
give
it.
Larry a chance to look at it.
Correct.
And I haven't seen any of it, so.
Okay.
And I don't want to see any of it.
Right.
But, I mean, you guys are talking about concepts now. You both need specifics so that you say, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. And go forward.
And that's why Larry has 8 different ones, is because it just comes back and it's like, no, we can't come compromise with this. And it comes back, no, we want this. We have to have this. It's the only way.
I deal with that all the time.
So, yep. So I think that's where I make the motion that we come back to the agreement with one of the previous township assistants we've done. I know we should be waiting for Tim to come back.
Take Division 8.
You don't need a motion for that.
Okay.
Just come up with your document, share it, and then you vote on it.
But I want you
okay.
I want you to work with Revision 8.
We can do that.
I can farther back ahead. Just do with Revision 8. Let me know what you're talking about.
We can do that. All right.
Okay. Virtual voting.
Did we get a resolution made up for it? Why not? That's what we said.
I've talked to.
Let me address this, all right? Let me address it. You're talking about remote participation, all right? So I've done it for the city of Bluffton, I've done it for redevelopment commission, I've done it for the fire territory or district, whatever it is in Bluffton. So, I mean, I've got a template that I can share with you and you guys can look at it and say, that'll work for us. It's almost identical with what the statute requires.
Okay.
You know, it's just goes right down it. And since you've only got 3 on this board, it's gonna be difficult. And certain things you can't vote on
Virtually.
remotely.
Right.
You know, budget items, things like that. So, but a lot of other stuff you can. So, but you're still gonna have to have 2 physically here.
Right.
Because you have to have a quorum here before somebody can remote in. But, so I can provide.
So just provide us up with that resolution.
I'll send
so
it
we
to
can-
Larry and he can share it. with
Okay.
you guys.
That'll work.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
If you wanna do it.
No.
Yeah.
If, I got one other quick question. If only one board member's here and Larry's here,
No, it's not quorum because
That's not a quorum. You gotta have-
see, but Larry's a tiebreaker
Doesn't
vote.
matter.
Okay, that's what I wanted to.
yeah, he
that's
could be
what I wanted.
he could be the tiebreaker vote because if me and David disagree, he's tiebreaker vote at that point.
You need 2 here to be able to have that.
So what do you, we get some guidelines or no guidelines?
We're gonna we'll have it going forward. We'll have something.
Okay, I still haven't received any more information back from the State Board of Accounts as far as our compliance audit. Talked like she have it here 2 weeks ago, but I haven't heard anything. I provided her with everything she's wanted. Did you guys get today all the firefighting budget numbers?
Yes.
I know that was sort of late, but I just wanted you to have it.
Yep, we got all that.
Okay.
That was from you or the town or?
Well, it was from the town, but they ran me copies and I scanned it and sent it to you, but it was from the town.
Where was that? What Ben?
I think it's what the fire chief presented to the town council last night.
Okay, so
It was, that's what that is.
No, actually, what this is, Steph, was how much money the town of Austin spent in 2023 for fire protection.
Yeah, can we get a copy of what Ben presented? It was never offered at the meeting.
Yeah. Yes, I have my copy. Yeah, I'll go make copies real quick.
Can we get a copy of that letter the town gave us? If she's making a copy.
Yeah, she's making copies, so give us the letter.
Yeah. We ought to have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Email me a copy, Larry, when you scan it in.
This one?
If you don't mind.
No. Well, you want an email or you just want a copy?
Doesn't matter.
Hey, Steph's running an extra copy for Tony too. Thank you. Okay, as was brought up earlier in the meeting, the $28,677.44 has been returned to me, and I will deposit it next Thursday, probably this week. Also, this came as a real shocker to me, but I got a call from Barry Gordon the other day. And he was talking about something, and then I said, hey, Barry, I said, I've got a bill here for about $1,500 that is a penalty because you inappropriately checked a wrong quarter box on the 941 quarterly payments. And I said, I've been trying to call the state. I've called the state about 4 times. First thing they tell you, your wait's going to be over an hour. And then 2 different times, I set the phone right down there and I do my paperwork and I wait. 2 different times they hung up on me after an hour and a half. So I don't think I'm going to be able to talk to anybody. So my accountant says, well, Larry, the next thing is write down all the information that you got and explain to them that it appears the only thing we did, former trustee did wrong, was check the second quarter box instead of the third quarter box, because he did make 4 quarterly payments that year. So I think what happened, according to my accountant, they probably applied it to the wrong quarter, but they never gave us credit for where it should have went. So that's why Barry and I are going to get together and we're going to try to write this letter out and then we're going to send it to the state. And it just takes, if you mail it and go through that system, it just takes longer. That's why my accountant originally wanted me to talk to him. Since that's not working, I'm going to try to write the letter and ask them for their forgiveness that we checked the wrong box and then verify that they did receive 4 quarterly payments. So I don't think Barry did anything wrong other than checking that wrong box.
What year was that?
I think it was 2019. But they said what happened with the COVID coming on, they got way behind and now they're just finally getting caught up and sending me this letter about the penalty. That's all I got. Anybody else? Anybody?
Yeah, anybody want to say anything else?
Okay. Kayla, thanks for offering your office here to us.
I just bring the key.
I would have.
Thanks, Tom. But you're welcome. We're coming to the circus.
All right, I make the motion, we end this, end the meeting at 8:01.
I second. All in favor?
All right.
I appreciate you guys coming. More people
Yeah,
may be
thanks, guys.
interested in what's happening in Jefferson Township.
Yeah, well, I'm still dry. It's just dry in here.
I don't know what you're thinking, but what they had down there before they did the territory was an interlocal agreement that covered all the different things, who owned what equipment, who contributed what, but if you do an interlocal agreement, there's a governing body, required advisory board or whatever, that could be made up of different representations, and they could have
Well, actually, I think that's been here a while.
bless the budget.
It was on the
budget, for the fire department or whatever, I don't know, it's just a trash can.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think.
Well,
But that's the way they used to do it.